Major news alert, PTG. This episode is brought to you by HK Army, and they are offering the deal of a lifetime with $20 cases of paint to anyone attending the NXL Las Vegas from March 8th to the 10th. And that means any teams, regardless of sponsorship, can get Level 5 exclusive tournament paint for only $20 per case, and the new formula is fire. HK Army is doing what they can to make paintballs more cost-effective for you in Las Vegas, and all you got to do is hit up my boy, Chad Yaya Boucher, who is the new sponsorship coordinator for HK Army, to reserve your paint today. Email him right now at chad@hkarmy.com. That's CHAD at hkarmy.com to let him know you want $20 cases of paint at NXL Las Vegas. Once again, that is Chad at hkarmy.com. And do not wait. Reserve your paint right now before it's gone. Let's go, PTG Nation. This episode is brought to you by Lone Wolf Paintball. They are an amazing online supplier and have been around since the beginning of the game as Michigan's premier paintball field and paintball supplier since 1987. They are rapidly expanding into the online retail space and supplying everything you need to be the best paintball player you can be. They have got it all. Head over to lonewolfpaintball.com and shop all of your favorite brands. And they also boast amazing customer service and will have this out to you with same-day shipping, which is amazing. It's always nice to know that your stuff is on its way immediately so you can start to use it that very next weekend of play. Check out their YouTube, Lone Wolf Paintball, and their Instagram at Lone Wolf PB, and stay up to date with all of their deals and sales. Play the Game podcast is immensely honored to have them on board, and we cannot wait for you guys to check out lonewolfpaintball.com and become a part of their community. Thank you all from the bottom of our hearts for the tremendous support with the PTG show. If you are enjoying these episodes and want to help with the progress and development of this program and connect with like-minded, hungry paintball players, then head on over to ptgpodcast.com, click the orange Patreon link, and become a member of the PTG World Discord chat room. And now back to the show.
What's going on, PTG Nation? This episode is one of the best we've ever had. 3.5 hours of nonstop action with Justin Rabackoff, who just joined the Russian Legion. They had a stellar event. J-Rab is one of the best ever played the game. You guys do not want to miss this episode. It's full of all the drama, all the details of what went down with AC Diesel and why he is on his way to success with the Red Legion. Truly phenomenal player and somebody who's left a huge mark on this game and inspired all of us. So without further ado, we are going to hop in the show.
That was an insane inside move by Marcelo Margot. Great communication.
And the crowd starts chanting Harmon.
Great shot by all the guys. So Tyler Harmon saved that game.
He came out with 2 wins. Marcelo Margot was on fire.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here live with the newest Russian in the NXL. We have Justin Rabackoff, who just came off of a stellar performance and a good event. Obviously, Tyler Harmon in the building. J-Rab, my dude, what's happening?
How you doing, man? Good to be here. You guys always reach out to me, and we always talk about getting on here, but it's nice to. And the last one that we did was awesome, so I'm excited. I'm excited to be here and just chalk it up with you guys.
Dude, it's great to see you. Your living room is immaculate. He's got a grand piano in the background, the stone fireplace, the whole deal. It must be nice.
Just
so
incredible.
How's it going? Yeah, talk to us about
this is what paintball does for you, the background here.
Where are you tuning in from? Where are you at?
I'm just moved to back home, like where I grew up, like back to Virginia recently. Just be closer with friends and family and the people that I grew up with. So it's actually nice being here. I don't like the cold so much, but it's not bad. I'm really enjoying living here, and it's obviously a different change of pace than it was in Florida, where I was for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 10 years. Damn, that's a really long time. And did you move to Florida from Virginia and you spent?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
So exactly that. So I left Virginia, went down to Florida. I moved there for a girl pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was there for 10 years, and then that didn't happen anymore. So then I came back and was like, all right, I think it's a good idea to be back with friends and family, people I'm close to, get out of Florida. But I do miss Florida a lot. I didn't go to the beach a lot, but it's one of those things when you live near the beach, you miss it, even though you didn't go very
Just
often.
knowing it's there, dude. Just knowing you
It's
can.
there.
Just
Yeah.
knowing it's there.
Because I actually did I like to read a lot. So I did enjoy going to the beach and being able to just read on the beach and kick it, get in the water, and then head back. I don't have that option anymore, and I really miss it. I really miss it.
Wait,
San
how far is
Diego's
the
not that
beach?
far. You could just come out here.
That's
stop
not
by the
not
beach.
that far. Yeah.
So you're
I
you're-
could never live in California. It's too expensive. I don't know how you guys do it. It's so expensive. The taxes there are ridiculous. The gun laws,
the
like,
taxes are crazy.
without getting into politics of California, I couldn't
Bro,
do it
you can still
personally.
get a gun. Everyone says the gun laws. You can still get a gun. You could have your guns. All right. Expensive. Just be like 20 minutes from the beach instead of 5, and it's a lot less expensive.
Fair,
dude, there's
fair,
ways
fair.
to do it. I'm telling you.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It is beautiful out there. I'll give you that. Everything else
Mm-hmm.
kind of sucks.
So where at in Virginia? So you're pretty far like inland then, because Virginia is not too far from the ocean.
No, but where I am, it's like you can drive to an ocean like 3 hours away. So it's not like it's like
Okay.
so far, but 3 hours is still a lot. Like,
Yeah,
it's better to
yeah.
make a
You're not
weekend
doing
of
that.
it.
Yeah, you're not doing
Yeah.
that to go read for the day.
Exactly. It's just not an option.
Yeah.
But I'm actually really close to DC. I'm like 40 or 35 minutes like from the heart of DC. So yeah, there's the only water that we have is the Potomac River, which is pretty cool. Like, you can do a lot of cool stuff on that, but no ocean.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Shout out to the Northeast.
More rafting. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure the paintball community is stoked to have you back out there in the Northeast too. You're going to be training out there, running around, being a part of that community because you were a part of the Florida one for so long. I'm sure they're going to miss it, but it's got to be exciting to be back home in your local community.
We'll see how much I actually play around here, because like for training, I actually have to fly back to Florida to be with the Russians and train there. Like, right before the event, I was in Florida for the last month, and I was training 5 days a week. So I was playing 5 days a week. So I didn't even play like in the off season. I didn't play in Virginia at all. I went straight to Florida, started training there. And so I'm still part of the Florida community, but just on the opposite side. I was doing it in Tampa at Tiki's Paintball instead of on the other side.
Yeah. Damn. 5 days a week. That's what it takes right there. See that?
Bro, and you know the thing about 5 days a week is I was talking to Mouse about this, and he's like, you're gonna get burned out so fast. But I did this when I first got on the Russians. I practically lived there, practically lived in Moscow, and trained 5 days a week, and I absolutely loved it. And then when I went down there and I started playing 5 days a week, I was like, this is what I want to be doing. Like, I want to be playing 5 days a week, working on my mechanical skills, because you're not just going out there and like playing points and beating your body up over and over and over again. Like,
you're refining.
You're refining. The first day I went out there, I did like 500 off the break shots with my right hand, 500 in my left hand, and then another 500 snaps in my right hand, another 500 snaps on my left hand, and then I left. So I was there for 4 hours doing that, and then that was our training day. And then we did, fitness training, like working on our legs and just conditioning and stuff like that. So we had 2 days, but yeah, I had the paintball gun in my hand 5 days a week, and it was awesome. I absolutely loved it. Not even a little bit of burnout.
No.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said. Like, if you let's say you can only train 20 hours in a week, right? I would much rather break those hours up to 6 days a week rather than Saturday and Sunday. I think your mind processes it a little differently, and your body adapts to it a little differently, right? And so an hour a day versus, an 8-hour Saturday or a 10-hour Saturday and a 10-hour Sunday, a couple hours on Monday, a couple hours on Tuesday, all the way through. I think that is so much better for your growth than cramming it all into one day. I don't think you process it as well.
Well, and scientifically, that's not how muscle memory works.
Exactly.
Like, muscle memory is done prolonged. So if you just go out on the weekend and you're playing points, or you do maybe 30 minutes of snapping before your day starts, you can't build correct muscle memory from just doing it once a week for 30 minutes before you play and then go and play some points. You'll never progress. And that's why 100%. You see a lot of people just peak at what they are. Like, the majority of players peak around D2. Like, that's why it's the biggest division. You don't see like a big jump from there. And that's because of specifically that, like people just go out and they want to play points, which is absolutely fine. But then a lot of people are wondering, like the people who want to get better and who want to push themselves to that next level, they wonder why they peak. They're like, oh, I'm going out there 2 days a week and I'm playing every weekend and I'm spending this money and I'm doing what I can. But it's like, that's, you're just going out and doing the bare minimum, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's funny when we get ready for events or even, if there's like a long break, I'll drive an hour to the closest field to me. I'll probably be on the actual field for like 45 minutes. It's not much. I bring my case, takes an hour to get there. I gear up, do my warm up, and then it's about 45 minutes to an hour at the most of like actually working. And then I leave, and there'll be other, some of the aftermath guys will be there sometimes. Oh, you're leaving already? I'm like, yeah, but don't worry. Like I'll be back tomorrow. And like, this is better than what you're doing. You're beating yourself up for it. Are you going to be here tomorrow? No. Well, then don't even talk to me about it because it's, there's a difference. And you're exactly right with muscle memory. It's about doing it more days in a row, without having these big breaks and then having a lot of time to process it and being really definitive in like the little things that you're actually working on. I don't have to try to cram everything into one day. I can say, okay, today I want to work on this one specific movement, and that's how you like truly can take the sport to the next level. It's hard in paintball because access to a field and all that, it's really difficult, right? Like the fact that I have to drive an hour to do that is crazy. I can't just go in my backyard or something and shoot hoops or, go to the park and catch a ball.
Yeah. Not everybody has access to the same way that we do. Like, we know a field owner and the field owner allows us to come during the week. And usually like that's extra stuff. Like, if they have somebody that blows up the field for you, it depends on the field, really. Like if some fields, like they keep it blown up and then you just have to kind of blow up yourself, or you have to literally do setup, tear down, washing the field. And it depends on what you work with the field owner. But a lot of field owners, like they're okay with you being there. You just have to ask. If you could get like a group of your buddies, let's say 5, you can make it worthwhile for the field owner if you go and do all of it yourself. Like you're tearing down and building up the field. Most field owners would be okay with it. You just have to, try to make it work with them.
Dude, you're so right. I mean, up until Victory Paintball Park closed, it's actually how Fran and I got so close. Shout out to Fran. But I would go and help him set up the field every time the layout dropped. I would spend the full day. He would set up 3 or 4 fields so all the teams could practice. It would be him, Frankie, who sets up all the NXL fields, myself, and maybe he would get one other person. So only 4 of us. And it would take like 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
But that was my dues that I would pay. I would say, okay, look, I'm going to come help you set up the fields, but then I want to be able to come on base and practice whenever I want during the week, right? So as we're preparing for these events, just give me access. That's all I'm asking. I'll give you the free labor, happy to do it. Just give me access so that I can get some drills in. And that was the relationship we had. And this is as a pro, this is as a pro that has established himself. You got to be willing to do the work and offer, whether you have to pay, whatever it is, those opportunities are available. You just can't be lazy. You got to be willing to do the work, and that's that, but if you do, you'll definitely reap the benefits.
Yeah. I did this in high school. Like I literally, as soon as that bell rang at the end, I got in my car, went to pick up my gear bag. Cause I actually got in trouble. I wasn't allowed to have my gear bag at school. Cause technically because the gun. So I had to go home, grab my gun. And then I would drive to the paintball field and set up for the weekend, the whole field. I would set up 2 fields, blow it up, do it all by myself. And then I would play during the week. And then everyone else was coming in the weekends to play on the fields that I set up. That's how I got to pay for everything. Right. They gave me a case. I set up the field, and that would be my payment. And when I look at it back now, it's a bad end of the deal. Like I was only getting 1 case
for sure
for setting up the whole field every single week. So it's like, I mean, but as a high school student,
you would have done it for free. You would have done it
I would
for
have.
free. You
100%. I would have done it.
That's
for
why
free.
you're there.
Yeah.
There's something to that too, though, that, like the divisional teams that I coach, they'll go places to practice and then they just want to wrap everything up and leave and say, no, like clean off the bunkers, clean off the bunkers, help take down. Like this is part of the whole process. Really fall in love with it. And maybe it's a little crazy. I don't know. Maybe it's a little page out of Mr. Miyagi's book that, isn't totally necessary, but I think there's something to it. I really do. You know?
You have to be you have to be obsessed with like, if you want to actually be a pro in anything, and you want to be at the highest level, you need to be obsessed with whatever that is. And for us, it's paintball. We are obsessed with it. We watch it, we talk about it, we do things like this. Like, even when we're out after the tournament's over in Vegas at a club, we're talking about paintball.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
it literally
Nerds.
revolves around our whole life. We are absolute nerds for it. We're obsessed with it, and there's a reason why all three of us are at the top of its game. And it's because of that. We are obsessed. We've dedicated our lives to it. So there is that gap in paintball. Whether you want to just do it as a hobby, that's absolutely fine. Like, a lot of people use it as a way for a vacation, away from their families, to be with their friends, and they get to go shoot some other people, and that's what's fun for them, and they do that. But then you have those people who want to actually be the best of the best. But if you want to be that, then you need to be obsessed with this game. You absolutely have to you have to breathe it. You have to dream about it, sleep, everything about paintball. You have to live if you want to be at the highest of its level. You have to be.
Absolutely. And it sounds like you and the Russian Legion are obviously all obsessed with this. Otherwise, you wouldn't be out there training the way that you guys trained leading into the tournament. Yeah. So talk to me kind of about that. Was it all 5 of you that were out there training together, or would you guys meet for a couple of days and then on the weekends? Or because you're all in the same area, so you're all right there in Florida, and you have the accessibility to put in the work, and you guys are doing that. So, like, how did the weeks look leading up to the tournament prior to the 2 weeks?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So all of the Russians weren't there for this. I only got to be with the majority of the Russians on the Wednesday that the field layout came out. That's when we all got together. Previous to that, only Karslev was in Florida. Russian Legion has purchased a team house, so like, I have my own bedroom down there when I go for training. So we have we have a team house down there because we have the Colombians on the team as well. We have 2 Colombians, and then we have 2 other Floridians that are like locals to Tiki's paintball. So they got a team house for us to train down there. So when it's available, like I'm going down there April 8th. So in a month, I'll go down there for training again. We have the team house, and like I said, we spend, like, a day would consist of, in the morning, we would go run our drills, whatever that day was, an hour break, and then we would do fitness, whether that's, weight training, stamina, running hills, like running sprints on the hills, push-ups, sit-ups, all of that stuff. That's what a 2-a-day would look like. And then you'd go home, relax, eat some food, and then you would do it again the next day. So it's literally treated as a professional environment. It's like any other professional sport. You go to the gym, you show up at the court, you show up to the field, you do what the coaches ask you to do. You head home, and then you come back for a 2-a-day, because most of these sports, they do 2-a-days. And if you look at someone like Kobe, that dude was in there 5 different times a day. Like, his training regimen was insane compared to everybody else, and there was a reason why he is at the highest level. So to me, after coming off the year that I had last year with AC Diesel, it was really important for me to go to a team where I know that I could train hard and I can thrive in that environment. And it's one of the biggest reasons why I picked the Russians, because I knew I was going to be able to have that. After I talked to the chief of Russian Legion, Sergey, the old one that you guys know, he's actually back running the team.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one of the big selling points for me, because you know me, I'm very competitive. I refuse to have another year like last year. It was very frustrating, and I did not want that same outcome. There's a difference between, like, you're building and you're getting bad results, but while you're building, that each event you're doing better and better and better. Each practice, you're working on a specific set, and you're coming up with a solution to build that team into a future championship team or a championship mindset. But when you're not getting there and you're continuing to make, the same mistakes over and over and over and over again, it's very hard to continue to buy into that system and then believe in that system when you're not seeing the right changes within that environment. It's very tough to stay disciplined, to stay dedicated, and I just didn't want a repeat of that this year. So,
you know what's tough, dude, is like, man, I feel like you guys got a little scary in Philly. You brought Hinman in. You guys had a hell of an event. I think you actually lost an overtime Sunday match to Heat. Was it overtime or a 1-point game?
I can't remember exactly.
Way,
it was very close.
Yeah, it was very close. And it was like, you guys could have won that event. You know, you definitely could have won that event. And it was like, damn, okay, Diesel's putting it together. And then you got hurt.
Yeah.
Right? And then you go into Chicago and Mouse also gets hurt.
And then we cut Hinman.
And then you let Hinman go. Yeah, which I thought was crazy. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, you take that and you go into World Cup, you're playing hobbled, still played great, had some big moments. But to me, it's like that team could have been on the right trajectory. But yeah, maybe the cutting Hinman thing was, let's dive into that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Yeah. So, okay, before I dive into that, it being on that team very much felt like a 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Like right when we felt like we were having improvements, whether it would be in practice or whatever, we had a coach who we thought that could bring stability into the team. We would then get rid of that. We had last year, we had no stability within the coaching environment. The first event we had Greg Pauly. That didn't work out. I don't want to dive like so deep into that, but that didn't work out. And then the second event, I ended up coaching and playing and making plays, calling lines, and then trying to also play my game. And honestly, you just can't do it. You can't do that at the highest level and then expect to go out there and be the best player that you can be on the field.
It's a lot. That stuff works when you're like guessing with teams in Europe and Australia and stuff. But when you're playing against when you're in the US playing against elite organizations from top to bottom,
it's just not possible. And then we picked up Hinman, and I was actually stoked for him because instantly he came in and he brought like that mentality of accountability onto players. And that was one of the things that we were struggling with. Like when someone made a mistake, there was no one there to hold that player accountable and be like, look, you're messing up here, you're fucking up here, and here's why, right? And explain it. But as I think a lot of people know, some people just can't handle the way that Mike Hinman coaches. And I think that that's fair to a certain extent, but I think when you're in a professional environment, I feel like you should have that backbone. You should be able to understand and take accountability for yourself that, hey, if I am making these mistakes, he's not yelling at me because I'm a piece of shit. He's yelling at me because he's calling out my mistakes and he's making sure that I don't make them again. Right. And that, at least like that's how I see it. Like that's how I hear it, because that's how I was coached as like even as a youngster. You know, most of us
all three of us come from that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I never this is the first time I've had Mike Hinman, but my dad coached in the same similar style. Like it was very much like if you're getting yelled at, there's a reason for it. So and everyone on the team sees that, and then they hold themselves accountable. Like, okay, like he made that mistake and he really got ripped apart for it. So I know that I don't want to make that mistake because I don't want to get ripped apart. And then everyone kind of has that same mentality of like, okay, let's help each other as a team. You help each other grow. And you're like, hey, don't forget about this mistake. Like, don't make it again, because nobody wants to see anyone on the team get yelled at for that. Right. So now you're holding each other. Everybody's holding each other accountable. We're all pushing each other to grow and make sure that we're not making those same mistakes over and over and over again. And that's what, helps you grow and get to that next level slowly but surely. And then the coach just holds everybody accountable. And I felt like we had that, but it just didn't work for some people. Like some people just didn't have, I guess, the mentality for it, which, it's like, it's fair for them. Like, it's their team. And if they feel like it wasn't a good fit, then it's not a good fit. Like there's some things that you just can't You can't fix or you can't change like that.
It's just from an outside perspective, it's crazy because you see how it went down. He gets hired, and there was a noticeable difference in your guys' performance and the demeanor. And for the league, it was like, oh boy, all right, are they going to put this together now like they should? Fuck.
And then a lot of us felt like that too. Like a lot of us had that same feeling. At least I did.
For sure.
Yeah.
And then there's injuries that happened that made the next, basically, it made Chicago kind of a wash, which, to look at Chicago like, oh, is this big failure? Not having you out there is a massive loss. Yeah. And then Mouse also hurt himself, I actually think with that snake and that field setup, if Mouse was healthy in the way he was playing it, the team actually probably could have made a Sunday run for sure. Yeah. And so you're hurt, then Mouse gets hurt, and then it's like they look at it as if, what a failure. Well, no, in Chicago you did. Mike was still there.
Yeah. And then World Cup, we had a new coach.
Exactly.
And then World Cup,
but like in Chicago, like after Chicago, if I was that organization, I would be going, hey, we're in the right direction. Like, Rab, are you going to be good to go for Cup? Like, if we get you and everyone's healthy and we're on the same path, like we're in the right direction with this thing.
It just finally felt like we had some stability, like coming off of like the other events. We didn't have like a coaching stability. And at this level, like you have to have that.
You do.
Like, look at all of the best teams. Like they have somebody at that level helping their players grow. And the one thing about pro sports is you're not just dealing with like people, you're dealing with personality as well. And each person has their own designed criteria that the coach needs to understand how to help that player grow. Right. Yeah. And I think what defines the best coaches in any sport is where they can take those personalities and kind of mold them to what they want the team to look like. Right. And if they can do that with all of these different personalities, that's what builds a championship team. Like, for instance, Dynasty's doing so well right now, and they lose one player, per year. Somehow you guys will get snagged by either, pay or, they felt like they weren't playing enough. So they're like, I know that I'm good enough. It's just, I'm on a really difficult team to be able to be a starter. But if I go to another team, I'm going to play every single point. So it's either play time or it comes down to money why they leave. But with Dynasty, you have all of the mold is there, and all you're doing is changing one piece. You're bringing in one player, and this year for you guys, it was Danny. So you guys bring in Danny, and it's so much easier to slot in one guy into the mold rather than trying to create a brand new mold. Right? So it makes it a lot easier for you guys to just literally everyone is playing at that level. So when you come in and you play that first point, you go, okay, man, he's doing this, he's doing this, he's doing that. I just have to do this, this, and this. Like, it doesn't even need to be taught. A good player can instantly just pick up on that, and then they go, okay, I just need to do this, and I can instantly start getting results. And that's the same run that we went on with Impact. It was the same thing. We were only changing one piece, and then kind of, Impact, got changed everything, right? And then they're not seeing the same results. But now Dynasty is in that same mindset, that same mold, where they're just changing out one piece, maybe two, and it's a lot easier to insert people into the mold rather than create a brand new mold from scratch.
It's also even healthy, you could argue. Like, losing Mikey, no doubt, is a painful thing. Mikey's a phenomenal player, but there's something to be said about bringing in a brand new player that hasn't won, is hungry, is a new face, brings in a new energy. That also helps organizations, right? And I'm sure on that Impact run, like, that helped you guys too. Like, you bring in like a young kid, and it's like there's just something fresh about it that kind of reinvigorates everybody and keeps everybody, okay, here's the new focus for the year. Not that it's required, but it definitely helps. It certainly helps,
And healthy competition, like, you have to have healthy competition within a team as well. Yeah. Because if you're not pushing, without that competition, that healthy competition, then you're not raising the bar within the team. So then you kind of just you're just content. Like, people who are constantly not fighting for a spot, that are always going to be on the field. You're like, hey, I'm on this team, and there's no one on this team that's going to that's going to outplay me and take my spot. So you get a little bit content. Without, it's subconscious. You don't mean to, but without healthy competition, there's no one there to push you to that next level. If you're not worried or concerned about your spot, then you can't grow, right? And there's two aspects to grow as a professional. It's healthy competition, and then it's the competition outside of it as well. So like for most of everybody else, everybody wants to beat Dynasty right now. I'm sure Tyler can attest to this. I can attest. Everybody knows that they're the team to beat. So it's that healthy competition outside of your team. But then that's one aspect. So the second aspect is the healthy competition within your team. If you are not fighting for your spot, then there's no reason to push yourself to that next level, because hey, I'm going to get this play time anyways. I don't have to worry about this guy behind me because he's never going to play over me, right? So subconsciously, you do a little bit less, you get content, and then it's just a slippery slope, and it's hard to come back from.
So
look at Arturo.
What would you say to those teams out there? There's tons of divisional teams out there that maybe don't have a surplus of skilled players. How can they become better and still have a great team and continue to grow?
Well, most of these fields have either a team that's like a semi-pro. Not every field has a pro team, but within the whole country, there's at least one or two good players at every single field. Right? There's not just, if you're in any competitive environment, there's no fields that are only D5 players. Like there, at least that I know of. I mean, we've all been to tons of different fields, but they have all different ranges of caliber. Like every single field you go to has at least a D2 team. At least. Right? There's no just like 5-man, 3-man, like no field that I've been to. So any of those, like either you have to drive further to go play a better team, or you bring in, let's say, somebody to do a clinic at said field, right? Someone that can help you if you are the top team at that field, and let's say you are that D2 team, and there's no semi-pro to kind of like push you to that next level, then you may need help. And one of the big problems with like even semi-pro players is they feel like they're at a level that they don't need help from someone else.
For
like
sure.
They
Bro,
never come to clinics because they believe that they are at that level they don't need it, which 99% of the time they need it the most.
I guarantee you the 10 pro teams could benefit from clinics.
100%. Because the biggest problem in paintball that we all face and that you guys have seen is at the lower level and at the lower divisions, there are not enough good coaches, and it's literally the blind leading the blind. And I'm not saying that to sound like negative or to really like, because some of these coaches, they're doing their best. They're doing their best to help these players, but they're the same players that didn't get to that level, and they created bad habits, and then they're teaching bad habits. So by the time, like, let's say I get there, or Marcelo gets there, or Tyler gets there to that field, you were literally trying to break down years of bad habits, and you can't do that in a weekend. It's just not possible. I can do my absolute best at a clinic. I can give you all the tools that you need. But if you have created years of bad habits, that one weekend, you're going to go out there the next weekend, and your bad habits are going to take right over, and you're going to forget everything that I've taught you or that one of us has taught you in said clinic, right? It's very tough. And like I said, it's the blind leading the blind. We've all seen it firsthand, or videos of coaches or whatever, or we've seen it live where you're just like, oh my God, this guy is teaching the worst possible things to these kids, but they just don't know any better. They don't know any better. The parents don't know any better. The coach doesn't know any better. It's the blind leading the blind. And that's why you see so many players just peak.
We're also in such an interesting phase of paintball, right? Like, I feel like the first evolution, well, not the first, but one of the more recent evolutions towards being a legitimate professional sport was pro paintball players started taking it very seriously, taking care of their body, doing drills, focusing on, eating well, reading, learning, sports psychology, all that stuff, right? Then the next step was coaches, because coaching in paintball wasn't really a thing. You just kind of have coaches that motivated you. Now you're seeing coaches that are really taking it. Shout out to Mike Bianca. We just played them in the finals. And I got to say, Rab, our bracket was insane. That is the hardest bracket that I think I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Truly. Would you agree with that? Like, I don't know a harder bracket.
I would absolutely agree with that. Absolutely.
Yeah, tough bracket. Then we have to face X Factor again Sunday morning. We play you guys again, which you guys looked incredible. You guys played incredible all weekend long. You back on that team is scary as hell for everybody in the league. And then we get to the finals. And honestly, that team that has been in the league for just a couple years, no experience, no superstars, played us better than anybody played us all weekend long. And they did stuff different than their coaching and their structure is so legit. And if you listen to the coaches show and you talk to Mike Bianca, you realize what he brings to that organization from a professional standpoint, setting goals, realistic goals, making sure he doesn't miss a beat. This sport hasn't had stuff like that. You have the Rusty Glaze, you have Skinny, who brings that level of professionalism. Joey, there's a handful of these coaches. I know I'm missing some. I stopped short, but there's a handful of them in the pro division, but not even every pro team has one of those.
Right.
So now we're talking about divisional teams having good coaches. It's just not a thing yet, right? We're getting there, but we're so far off. So yes, you're right. There's so many divisional coaches that are just truly lost and behind and don't take it as serious as they should, and you're right. The blind leading the blind. I can't tell you how many times I talk to a player, I see a kid and he has all these bad habits. And I'm like, hey, when you get here, why do you do this? You own the tape. Why are you not rapping? He's like, my coach told me to do this. And I'm like, look, I don't want to get you in any fights with your coach.
Right.
That's not the right way.
Yeah.
And you're going to have more success if you do this more times than not, and it's just kind of where our sport is right now. In other sports, you can not ever reach the pros, but you could still become an incredible coach. I believe that because there's so much information. There's so much data. You could really immerse yourself in the student side of the game and become a phenomenal coach. Paintball is we're starting to get there where that data, that information is out there. Right. But it wasn't always that way. And so we're in a weird period, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. And a lot of drills, especially high level drills, are kind of gate kept. There are some drills that you would even do at your clinic, but you're not going to bring drills that you do within your team even to those clinics. Maybe you do. I don't know, but I know for myself, there are some drills that are too advanced to bring to a clinic for divisional players because they're just not at that level to understand said drill. So some of those drills are gate kept. So whether there's a coach at that thing, they're not seeing those drills. And a lot of those drills are also not videoed. People don't, there's no information on those drills. So they're very much gate kept, and they're kind of just kind of processed within the pro community. If you played on those top pro teams, then you've done those drills and and there's no reason to really, talk about it or, tell anybody else unless you're, teaching or a clinic. But again, like I said, a lot of those drills are too advanced or too a high level to bring because they just wouldn't know what's going on. You could do them, but they wouldn't see it the way that we see it. They're not going to get the same things out of that drill as we would. So I think a lot of it is a little bit gate kept, but unintentionally. It's not like it's an intention of, oh, well, we don't want these people to not know these drills because we want to continue to be at the top of the level. It's unintentional. So I think that there are some things that can be changed. And I haven't seen any of those episodes. That I've seen little snippets and clips of the coaching thing that they're doing on Instagram. Do they have a YouTube too?
Bro, Rab, you would love it, dude, because you're a student, man. The coach show is great. It's a totally different perspective. Yeah, and so, it's a YouTube show. I think they're on Spotify and stuff, too. I usually watch our stuff on YouTube.
Is it a podcast format, or do they do, is it actual coaching? Or is it both?
No, It's a little bit of both, but it's mostly,
Okay.
it's like podcast format, right? So it's a show, but they have coaches on and they talk from that perspective, and it's really high level strategy stuff. It's interesting. It really is.
Okay.
It's
Oh
a
yeah,
good
I'll
show
have
they
to
have.
check it out. I'll probably really enjoy it.
Yeah.
You will. And it only recently just came out, like within the last several months. And what they've been doing with their first 20 episodes is really groundbreaking. And what they're going to do with the future of the show is take all the data and the games and
like
really
that.
start breaking games
Yeah,
down.
totally.
Like that's their vision. So they started before the season started. So they obviously didn't have any of these games to kind of dive
Right.
into. But now that we're getting into 2024, we just played out in Vegas. They're going to be breaking down tons of games and going through them all.
I really look forward to that then, because I love like high level stuff like that, breaking down a game, and really nobody. It's like some people are doing it, but then they're not. You still have to do it. You have to cater it to people who you need them to understand it as well. So it's like
True.
it's very tricky on how you word things and how you talk, because there's ways that we would understand it, where let's say a D3 or a D4 player wouldn't understand that same mentality because they just can't comprehend it. They can't. It's just not possible without having played it, without having been taught it. So to do, you really have to be careful in the way that you word things. So I'm very, very excited to actually see how they handle the high level stuff of breaking down a game.
Yeah,
That's awesome. I'm really excited. And honestly, like we didn't even get to really talk about this much. I think that Mike Bianca this is my opinion. I think he's the best coach in the league. I truly, truly do. I don't think that there's another coach better than him, because you're taking a team full of 0 superstars. Like there's no superstars on that team. They play together, like their cohesion, their synergy, their everything is amazing. And I've gone to Louisiana, and I've had the pleasure of practicing them and seeing him work within the team. So it's not just at the tournament level that I've seen these things. It's at the practice too. And he does an incredible job with those guys, and what he's been able to do from the start. Like they're 2 years. This is their second or third year in the league. Second or third?
This is the third.
Their third year. So what he's been able to do in 2 years, this being the third, is second to none compared to what other coaches can do. I don't even know if like you could take one of the on the top level teams and then put them into that same Hurricane system, and then you would see the same results. And then that's not to try to take away from, any of those coaches, but it's very, very difficult to do that. So watching him do that has been a pleasure, and I think that he's one of the best coaches out there.
He's extremely impressive for sure.
Very impressive. I mean, he's definitely in my top 5. I've thought about it, like maybe top 3. It's hard for me to, go against my own coach. Skinny's done a phenomenal job over the last 4 years, like truly. And you don't really know until you're like, in the group. But what he has done, Rab, I mean, you're absolutely right. There's no superstars, no big name players, no players with experience at the pro level. And to get them to a finals where they were actually up 3-0 against us, and have it's incredible. It really is. And when you listen to him talk about the game and strategy, and that really goes to show that there's probably a big time untapped, like we might be missing something right now. We might be missing something right now, in pro paintball, to where if you just add this level of organization, it could probably 10x your team's performance.
Yeah.
I had seen a booklet that, their preparation for tournaments, they distribute like a booklet, and you could pay for it if you're a divisional team. You can like log in and be part of their thing, and they'll send you like a whole thing for every event. And it's fucking incredible. Like you look at it and you go, what? It is
really?
It's so professional and so high level, dude. So I can only imagine like what they have to highlight every single shot on the field.
Yeah.
Shots, this shot, that shot, if this, then that. I mean, it is truly NFL standard, probably.
It's an actual playbook. It's
more than a playbook. It's a event book that has what temperature of the day is going to be on Saturday. So you should fucking do this in the morning to prepare yourself best for that Saturday afternoon.
Wow.
Dude, it's incredible. It's incredible. I am so amazed by that organization of Mike Bianca, truly.
Yeah.
And he's like the nicest, most humble guy too. That's what's
He
funny.
is.
Yeah.
He's like the biggest brain in the room half the time, and he tries to act like he's not, and it's like, dude, we want to hear more of you. You're the one we want to listen to,
Yeah. Yeah, I really enjoy having a conversation with him, and I spent even at this event I tried to spend a little bit more time like just talking to those guys, talking to the coach, and trying to get to know them better, because I know that they're here for the long term. Like that's not just like a dash in the pan or whatever, or a flash in the pan, as some would say. I don't believe that. I think that they're actually a team that can continue to be in the top 4, minimum like top 6, top 8. And I believe that they will continue to be there every Sunday. So I'm excited to see how well they progress, how well they continue to move forward, because I think after watching that game, after watching your guys' game, I think that if they actually had some finals experience or more Sunday experience, I think that they would have understood how to control that game and not let it slip away from them. Like, for instance, any other high level team who has been there, who knows how to win, you give them a 3-0 advantage, they're 99% of the time, they're not letting that go. They're not going to let it go. And sometimes you have those games where, people just come back from the 5-1s and the 5-2s. But in our league, if you look statistically,
3-0 is a big one.
Yeah, over the last like 5 years, there are no big comebacks. In the last like 5 years, there's like maybe been 1, 2, maybe 3 big comebacks. And on Sunday, I'm not talking about like prelims or anything like that. Yeah.
I know we've had a couple on Sunday.
Yeah, there's just not that many. And the reason being is because, one, the teams on Sunday, if you give them that advantage, you give them those 3-0s, they're just not going to let that go. They're not going to let it slip out of their hands. Right. And that's like a 95% of the time. The 5% of the time, you're going to see those highlight comeback from, nothing wins, or, 4-2, 5-1, 3-0, things like that. And they're incredible performances, and you give all the kudos to the team that came back. But they are very, very rare in paintball, especially in the last 5 years, where you've had the same teams winning over and over and over again. And there's a reason why they do that, because they know how to win on Sunday, and the rest of these teams just don't. They don't have that experience. They haven't been in the top 4 enough of the times. Like, it's the same teams over and over again. So when that team finally gets there, they've been playing good. They just don't have that experience that it takes to go deep on Sunday. And it's not something that it's like easily explained. You can't just like teach that at a clinic. You can't just talk about it on a podcast and then go, oh, I know how to play Sunday paintball now. It's a different mindset. It's something that's built over time. It's not something that can be, you can't teach it at a clinic. A coach just can't bring you on a team and go, hey, this is how we play Sunday paintball. Like, you have to learn it. And you learn that from being on the best teams and being with the best players and winning those tournaments. And once you get a taste of that and you get a feel for that, you never forget it. You never, ever forget it. So when you're back in that spot, you know exactly what needs to be done to secure that victory.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that obviously watch the tournament. What would be your best advice for the Hurricanes to salvage the game? And they had to apply more pressure. They obviously kind of just sat back and kind of let the game get brought to them.
Yeah, I've been saying this for years, and it got to the point where on Impact it started to become a big problem for us, and it was one of the things that we argued about the most within our camp. Was when we get up points, you'll see these teams start playing defensive. Let's just go here and like play cross. And the teams instantly forget. And it's insane to me because you see it over and over and over again. These teams that they'll go up points by, being aggressive or doing something specific to earn those points, to playing the exact opposite of how they were winning points. And God damn it bugs the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Because you'll see them do it over and over. Okay, now let's go here and like play cross and let's play defensive and try to burn time. But what is the point of trying to burn this time? I can understand if there's a minute left then we do those sorts of things because you know that you can burn that time off in a minute. But when there's 9 minutes left and you're up 3-0 or 11 minutes left and you're up 3-0, you don't need to go to a cross defensive game because that's not how you won points. It's just not.
Right.
And you see it over and over and over again. And you see every single time that team that goes and plays defensive, they lose like
most
90% of the time.
Yeah.
And
There's
they throw
I always
these games
say
away.
To this day, we'll have our team meetings and Skinny's like, okay, so what's our defensive play? And I'm like, wrong question.
Yeah.
We need two. First of all, one, we need to know how much time's left. There's like a 45-second defensive play, and then there's like a minute and a half defensive play.
Right.
And if it's a minute and a half, it depends on the field, but usually it's do what you've been doing. You know, if it's 45 seconds and you're up a point, like, okay, maybe we can try to button up and like, you know, do some, maybe one little extension somewhere difference. But like, there's a total difference with it. The time matters. If there's a minute and a half, 2 minutes, and you're only up a point, you better keep doing what got you there. Like you're still playing paintball. You know, you're not going into like cross up mode because that's how you just get run over. You see it time and time again.
Yep, you really do.
Which is funny. It's like, why not just start the match? Why not just start the match like you're down points? You know, like
if you're gonna play like that, play like that
Right.
all the time. Like don't
Right.
switch up and do a complete 180 on what got you there. Right,
Yeah.
what literally pushed you into Sunday that got you all the way to the finals, and then go up doing that same thing 3-0, and then going to that. As soon as I saw them going defensive, I was like, oh no, this game's over. They're gonna let Dynasty back in this game.
Their shots were dialed in as well off the break.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like they were saying in the live show, that's Dynasty's bread and butter, getting some off the break kills. And that was exactly what they were hitting on. And then, just needed to apply a little bit more pressure, I think, in that last segment, and they would have had a better chance. But my God, congratulations, Marchie. Congratulations to you and Dynasty for another win. It was very entertaining. It was crazy to watch. And you know, Vegas, I think, was a monumental success. I think for the first event of the year is one of the largest NXL events we've seen short of the World Cup. Yeah.
The largest first event of the year.
Yeah.
Yep. Yes, it was impressive.
Which is incredible for paintball.
Yeah.
They didn't have enough grandstands.
No, yeah.
I think they were like, shit, we didn't expect it to be this big. You know, we had Tyler Algier was there. David Montgomery was there, running back for the Lions. He was watching on Saturday and Sunday, which is fucking incredible.
Oh,
you know,
is awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, totally, dude. Shout out to Kevin Fillers, Tom Cole. They like gave him the red carpet treatment. They took David Montgomery, he showed him, you know, brought him through the whole venue, behind the pro pits, introduced him to some of the pro teams. It's exciting. You know, there's a lot of eyes on our sport, and Sunday night was incredible. That award show, like, I mean, thinking about it literally brings me to tears. Part of my speech was talking about, you know, as a kid, that was the dream. That was literally the dream. It was the dream for all three of us. I know it. And it wasn't necessarily about like being the best or getting the MVP award, but it was just that paintball was going to be on a stage like that one day. You know, like truly, that's what it was about. You know, that it was going to be legitimized. And it felt for the first time ever. I mean, I know there's been big tournaments, Huntington Beaches in the day, and like, I get it. But for the first time ever, everyone was dressed up. You were at a casino in Las Vegas. You're at the pool party. Like, it seems so official. You have all the big screens around the whole venue with all of the nominees and the, you know, the awards going on and the big stage. It validated everything that the three of us here have worked for the last, you know, 20 something years. Like, it was so incredible. Such a great start to the future of this sport. Like, I just, you know, it's amazing.
Yeah, I completely agree. The only thing that I think that they could have done better is make it a black tie event. I think,
dude, for sure.
I think if they would have done that and forced us all to dress up, and because then now when you're walking into the event, everybody's black tie, everybody's dressed up, everybody's looking the best that they can.
That's a
then
stretch
those
for
people
paintball players, bro.
but those people
It's a
outside
stretch, though.
that they see us all walking in black and it's a black tie event. They're
I
all like,
agree.
"Holy shit! What is everyone? They're
I
all
agree.
dressed up like that." Like I
I agree.
understand,
But it
it's
would have
a
been hard to
stretch.
get all the paintball players
I
to
get
do
it.
that,
I
bro.
get it. And look, I showed up in a long sleeve T-shirt
Yeah.
and some black jeans, like
Yeah.
so. But I came late. Like we had our team
Right.
dinner at 8 p.m. So
Okay.
like the majority of when all the awards were given out, I didn't get to see any of that. I came at like the after where they were. It was like there was only like 2 left that Frazier was announcing, and then it kind of everyone was just hanging out afterwards. So
Yeah.
I missed the majority of it, and which sucks. But we had our team dinner. But when I got there, I was like, "Oh my god, this is awesome! This is incredible!" Like it was so cool. And as soon as I got in there, there was like some divisional teams who were there, and like they were just pumped to see me. I was taking pictures, and I didn't even win anything, but and they were just excited to be able to just chat and hang out, and we're having drinks and.
The energy
it was just
good.
the energy was and the vibes were just immaculate, and they were incredible. And I think that the whole thing was set up perfectly. Like I said, the only thing that could have made it a little bit better was if it was black tie. Other than that, it was absolutely perfect. And I think it was a great start of the new year. It was amazing.
For sure, dude.
Yeah, it was a phenomenal start. I was happy that a couple of my hooligan friends had shoes on. You know what I mean? Like I was just like,
I know.
there we go.
They weren't wearing flip flops.
Yeah. So I was like, damn, look at them toes covered up.
Yeah.
Wow, you did
it. But no, really,
Baby
it
steps,
was,
bro.
Yeah,
Baby steps.
we're starting,
Yeah.
and what a great start. I mean, truly phenomenal. The energy was crazy. We had so many amazing people from so many different walks of life, from different time periods, and it was really a night that I know I'll never forget. PTG also took home the Creator of the Year award, and that is a major win. That one goes out to all of you out there tuned in right now. That is a win for all of us. That's a win for paintball in this show, so we're super grateful for that.
Congrats on that. That's
yeah,
awesome.
dude. It was
you guys work hard though. You guys deserve it. You guys are doing more content than pretty much anyone out there. So you guys absolutely deserve Creators of the Year. I don't know anyone that's more deserving of the prize.
Bro, thank you. We appreciate that. And there are for sure people out there cranking out a lot of content, but we are just super grateful to have this platform to connect with so many amazing people, dude. Like, you know, like Marchie was saying, we just had David Montgomery who came out to the event. We had Mickey Mason a couple weeks ago. He was out in Vegas as well. And he's, you know, been running around playing paintball with his brother and having the best time ever. So it's like a really, really cool moment in paintball. And then we will be having Tyler on. He was at the Summit Awards. We'll be having him on as well. And he'll be telling his story of, he's actually been playing for quite a while and now plays for the Atlanta Falcons and in the NFL. So it's cool to be making all these connections.
Yeah, that's sweet, man.
Yeah, and then have like this amazing party where we could celebrate it and show love out there. And thank you once again to everybody who cast votes for PTG. And you know, it's just crazy. Can't even.
Yeah, because how many tickets did they sell to that? Do you guys know the numbers on it?
Yeah, they had around 950 people.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane. And for the first event, like being back in Vegas,
it was crazy.
I mean, the grass wasn't really there this time, but
What grass?
yeah, it was grass. The grass used to be nice. It was green.
Yeah.
I think
It was always no, it wasn't. Don't you remember they literally used to spray paint for Ghost Sports? They would spray paint the grass, and it looked so lame. Do you remember that?
I do remember that, but I remember it being a little bit softer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like,
it was
it
really
wasn't-
dusty this year.
It wasn't just us, and honestly, I think it was mostly because of that construction. I think it was because of the construction,
Maybe.
right? You'd have
Maybe.
to that would be a good guess.
Maybe. Yeah, I
But
don't
you
know.
would think you would think of the sun, setting in the west, and or do I have it backwards?
that was a blunder, bro. No, you're right.
No,
yeah,
and-
we
and-
played
and-
east to west.
And I'm sorry, it's been the same on planet Earth for a fucking billion years, where the sun has been doing the same thing for a billion years, and they still can't get it right.
That was the only spot, dude.
They still can't get it right. That
I
the
think
sun,
that-
like just put the field north and south. Like,
Yeah.
why is it so difficult for
I
them to
think it was
figure that out.
because of the way that the venue was set up for this particular one. I don't know why. Maybe that was like the only spot, but yeah, it was definitely difficult. I think, for the teams that had to look into that sun, obviously you got to be prepared for that with some tents and be ready for all that. But yeah, it was still, in my opinion, a really good event.
Oh yeah,
The
absolutely.
grass, obviously it could be a little bit greener, but overall, I was really, really happy with the way that, I cannot tell you the last time I've been to event number one like that in Las Vegas, and we hadn't been back there for 4 years.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even those events that we were having back then, they weren't as monumental as this one felt. Like this one felt like a really big event.
It almost felt like a same energy of kind of like a World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
Like with everything, like from the award show to just like everything after on Sunday when they're giving out the trophies and the whole venue, like there was always people,
Mm-hmm.
like whether they were shopping or just walking around, hanging out, having beers at the Bud Light tent or whatever it was.
Oh yeah.
Like people were just happy to be there. They were excited to be there. They were just happy to talk paintball and be around paintball. And so it felt like more of like a World Cup energy, a more World Cup vibe. And so it was really, really cool to see that from like all aspects, from like divisional to pro. It was really amazing to see that, and just people just so excited and happy to just be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the buzz was proper. And thank you
Yeah.
once again to Quinn from Iconic for all that you did in getting the award show all dialed in there. I know I said it to you there, but really, really phenomenal work that you, the NXL, Major League Paintball did to bring that to life in such a huge way. When you walked in and there was a red carpet, you walked in on the red carpet,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
look up, there's the screens everywhere playing paintball. There's the screens in the hallways. Everyone who's going into the casino is seeing Major League Paintball, and the branding is on point. The paintball branding right now is absolutely on
I have
point.
to agree.
Yeah.
I have to agree. Everything feels so much more professional. Like we're kind of elevating all of that to a level that hasn't been done before,
Mhm.
which is great because as Marcelo said before, we have more eyes on the sport than ever. So it's very important for our marketing and for our brand to be as best
Yeah.
as it can be, so that when they see that, they're like, oh man, this is actually very professional, and we're
I
not.
want to be involved.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, and
Yeah.
that's what we need. We need more outside sponsorship to come in, and not just like the paintball companies. Obviously, the paintball companies have kept us in business and make sure
Mhm.
that we're thriving and we're getting all of the right products and everything perfectly. But for us to grow, 10x, 20x, 100x, we need outside sponsorship, and we need more professionals to come in, whether it be from a marketing aspect, an advertising aspect. It doesn't matter. I think optics are a huge thing, and we need the most professional help when it comes to optics for paintball, so that these outside eyes, when they start looking in, they go, holy shit, this is something that I can actually be involved with. And it's something I want to be involved with because it's exciting. It's adrenaline pumping. It's exactly what we want to sell. Right.
Mhm.
So that lets them come in. They see a product that they can sell. And then in the end, it helps all of us from divisional to the pro level.
Yeah, and then the paintball pie grows, and
Mm-hmm,
paintball
mm-hmm.
is just becomes a global phenomenon. Because right now, even I was talking with some of my teammates, it's like maybe if we're lucky, 1/10 of the world has heard about paintball or knows about paintball or can even have
Yeah.
access to paintball. It's not like grabbing a soccer ball and being able to go in the yard
Yeah.
and kick it around. So it's a very niche thing that we do, and we're still in the infantile stages of this and doing a really good job at it right now with all the work that everybody's putting into it. And then
Mm-hmm.
I want to dive into like you and your injury, man. I know you hurt your
Yeah.
knee going into World Cup, and then obviously you made the transition from playing for Diesel to Russia. So what did that time look like going into World Cup, getting the injury, healing from that injury, and then making the move to Russian Legion?
So, okay, so the injury, I actually injured my knee at ASG paintball park. I un This is don't do this guys, please wear knee pads. But for the longest time, for like literally years, I didn't wear knee pads. All I wore was like the carbon sliders with like the
Oh yeah.
small little knee on that. And when you play on like the hard grounds, it crushes the knee. So I was there,
Oh,
hurt my knee there, and I pretty much splintered and split like all the cartilage that was under my patella, and then I had a small tear in my meniscus. So after going to the doctor and getting the MRI and going through it, me and my doctor decided that it was best to not do a surgery. So I opted out of the surgery. And he's just like, okay, so for the rest of the year, you're just going to be, playing in pain, and we will do an update, and I'll meet with him after each event just to kind of see, okay, are we getting worse? Are we getting better? And the best thing that I can do is, so I got cleared on January 8th. So the doctor then said that the best thing that I can do is strengthen my quads and strengthen my glutes, and that will really help alleviate any of the pressure off my knees if I really, really work hard and I train those muscles and I get those muscles bigger. Then it'll help alleviate some of that pressure and that pain on my knee. Well, as soon as I got down to Florida, I told Max about, my coach Max, about the injury, told him about everything that was going on. Doctor cleared me January 8th, and that we need to really work hard on the leg. And every day that I trained, I had pain. I had like a lot of pain. And the first week that I was down there, it was like incredibly disheartening because after I was cleared January 8th, I was in the gym practically every day, like really trying to like work through it and do all kinds of things for my knee and rehab it and make sure that I'm doing the right things to make sure. And I was constantly having pain. And like I said, I got down to Florida, continued to have pain, working through the pain and doing everything I can to just get my legs stronger. But going into the first event, like I didn't feel like super confident because I still had like a lot of the pain. And my doctor was like, you're going to be playing with pain, but your knee is okay. Like there's no like major damages. There's nothing like insanely wrong. You're just going to be playing with the pain, and it's going to be a mental hurdle to get past because your brain thinks that your knee is injured, but in reality, it's not. Like there's no major damage. It's just the pain. So the hardest part was teaching my brain that I'm not injured, even though there's pain, because like you're when you feel pain, your brain automatically wants to go, okay, we need to do less on this. We need to do less because there's pain here, and then it creates inflammation and blah, blah, blah. And so your brain tries to protect that body part or that area that's injured or that's painful. And I don't know what happened, but I'm super excited that it did. I got to the first practice of the layout weekend. We traveled to Vegas, and we were practicing Aftershock and Ironman. On Saturday, I still had pain. So I was like, okay, I'm just pushing through it. I'm pushing through, warming up like the best I can. And then on the Sunday, for some reason, something changed. And I don't know what happened from having pain on the Saturday to going into the practice on Sunday. I woke up, warmed up the same as I usually do, doing my extra stuff for my knee. And as I'm warming up, I'm not feeling like the same pain that I was feeling. And I'm not sure if that's just like all the rehab and all the training that I did on the knee, like finally like accumulating over the months. And then it just like, started to get stronger. And so the pain was less, but I'm not sure what happened from one day to the other where I had a lot of pain, went to bed with pain, woke up pain free. And then I'm warming up, had like zero pain. Like there was a small like tinge, but nothing where my brain was like, okay, we don't need to favor my right leg anymore. Like we can actually run and be powerful on this leg. I don't know what happened. I'm really excited to actually talk to my doctor again, and say, hey, I am pain free. I had no pain in the tournament. Everything's working as it should. And I don't know if that's like on account of the rehab and the training, or it's just like a mental thing where it's like I finally tricked my brain into like I don't know, but either way, I'm incredibly happy for whatever happened in the transition in my body.
Well, there you go. Well, that's good news. Heck yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Knees are weird, dude. Like you can get even a minor issue in the knee, and the way it'll affect you mentally. There's been times, because I've obviously had a few major knee surgeries where there are some real legitimate issues, and then since then I've had like minor injuries that I thought were major. I'm like, oh no, I'm like, nope, I tore it again, but I didn't,
It was nothing.
Yeah, it was nothing, but like it felt like it was something, and it felt like it was, and there'd be like a little click, or I'm like, nope, it's definitely torn again, and it wasn't. And it's interesting how the mind does that for sure. Rehab is the most important part of the whole thing.
Yeah, and I want to say that was it. Until I can talk to my doctor and he can give me kind of like a better idea of like, because I'll have to give him like all my training regimen. Here's what I've been doing, because this is what we talked about. And then I see him after the event, like, hey, how'd your knee go during the event? And so once I go to him and I talk to him about it, hopefully I'll have some more like guidance on what happened, or he's just like, hey,
right,
we got real lucky here, like you have no pain, because he told me I was going to be playing with pain for the rest of the year. And then,
dude, my doctors told me I was never going to play paintball again. Remember that commercial?
Yeah,
that was real though, dude. That was fucking real. It was real. Like they looked at what I had and they're like, that's the sport you play, like never going to happen again. I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Imagine,
I can't even imagine that. Like for a doctor telling me, like, even if my doctor did tell me that, I'd be like, yeah, that's not happening.
Totally.
Yeah. That's not happening. You're going to do what you can for this knee, and then I'm going to continue to play.
For sure.
So it's wild how like, you went through that, and like, because mentally, like, that's got to just be absolutely draining.
Yeah,
like
it was
and disheartening. Like, yeah, like I couldn't even imagine. I can't fathom that. Like I've never had like a doctor or anybody tell me like, hey, you can't do what you love and what you've been obsessed with for your entire life anymore. You got to pack it up. See you later, bud.
Unacceptable. I also didn't believe it. It was the thing. Like the doctor said that, and I was like, I watch sports. People have these injuries and come back. I didn't break everything. Like I tore my ACL, tore meniscus, and there was some cartilage damage. So like they had to drill into my bone in my knee and fill it with synthetic cartilage. That was, we were talking about the atrophy you had on your leg.
Yeah.
After using it for a while. So I tore my ACL 2 years apart. The second year was much worse. It was a complete tear of the ACL, meniscus. And then when they did the surgery, they woke me up and they're like, hey, so we had to do some other stuff that we didn't think we were going to have to do. We had to also like drill all these tiny holes into your bones and actually fill it with synthetic cartilage because you had so much cartilage missing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. So what does that mean? Well, it means that you can't touch your toes to the ground with your left leg for 6 weeks. Which in the ACL recovery process, like the first week or two is imperative because you start like putting weight on it right away and you start building muscle back. My leg, dude, shrunk down like a chicken wing. Like it was crazy what my leg looked like after that 6 weeks, after just not touching, no weight on it.
Doing nothing. Doing nothing. Yeah.
So that was a hard process. But still, even with all that, I was like, no, I see there's pro athletes. They get that this happens all the time in their back. So no, I'm not listening to that. Like, you're just a conservative doctor. I get it. Whatever it is, what it is. But to be completely honest, Rab, like at that time, it really didn't feel draining. It didn't. It was like, okay, here's a hurdle. I'm actually kind of excited that I was able to have this surgery done and I can heal. And there's like an outlook of if I work hard enough, I could get back to where I was. So, all right, there's a path. And I became addicted, just like being a player and being addicted to like trying to get better at paintball. I became addicted at like getting my knee better.
And it was proving them wrong.
Dude, 100%. I would literally wake up. It was from like sun up to sundown. I was like doing things that would help my knee, massaging it and loving it. And, that's literally all I did. Yep. And you brought up earlier, the Russians and that structure and how good it was for you because that's your personality. That was the same off season that Kirill sent me a message asking if I wanted to play for Russian Legion.
Okay.
It was right after my knee surgeries. And I was like, this is exactly what I need. I just want to be all in and like put all of my effort on being an amazing athlete and an amazing paintball player, you know, and I want to focus only on that. And that's why I ended up going to that team. Same reason as you did, you know? And looking back, it was like really a huge turning moment in my career, I think, you know, like I had some success early on as a young kid, but then, you know, shoot, dude, we were all so young when we had success, right? We all three of us here. So like, you know, you could kind of have a bad attitude about it and make some mistakes along the way. And I certainly did, you know, I mean, I made a ton of mistakes and pissed some coaches off and things like that. But I was like, okay, the Russians, this is where I need to be, get my shit in check, you know, and you know, big turning point.
Yeah. One of the things that I actually truly believe is that, when I talked to Chief Sergey, about coming on the team, he believes that they can take any player and instantly make them 30% better in their training regimen. Yeah. And I actually do believe that, because all the players that you've seen like come through, and they haven't had too many like American players as of late. They struggled with a lot with you know, visas and you know, Corona and the pandemic going around. So like that was a real struggle for that team and that organization, to the point where they almost weren't an organization anymore. Like it was that close. So it's good that they were able to persevere through that, and then come back, and then and after the season they had last year, because they were in the same like spot that Diesel was, like not making Sundays very often. Like it was rare for them. Like they were fighting to make a Sunday. Yes. Like they weren't a top 8 team anymore, even with the players that they have. And like they have a lot of talent on that team. We've all played against those guys for years. We know the caliber of players that they are. And for them not being a top 8 team anymore and barely scratching the surface and making Sundays, it's a big step from going from that to what we were able to achieve with the first event, with the new style that we're trying to play. So one of the things that sold me on going to this team, because they weren't my first choice. I'll be honest. They weren't my first choice, but after talking to them, I instantly made a decision to go to them, even after hearing other offers. I decided that I was going to go to that team instead, because, as you guys know, you've been around the league long enough, that every about 3 to 5 years, the game changes in some way or another. And it's either a team or a coach or whatever it is that is able to change the game to propel it to the next level, that everyone now has to reach that pinnacle if you want to compete with them. Like, for instance, when the Russians first came over, I'm sure you guys watched them. And when Fedorov was coming over, running and gunning to the snake and shooting the back center player, like it was unheard of. Like no one has ever seen this ever. They come over and they're literally just shitting on people, doing something that we didn't even know existed. Right. So like, that's one of the things. And then like, for instance, like, you know, one that I was a part of was Impact, like literally changing the game in the way that we communicate today. And now it's standard. Like if you're not communicating in that way, you're probably not going to win that match or win tournaments.
And what's that way, Justin? If for the listeners at home, can you kind of break that down a little bit?
Yeah, like that communication and just having. So typically, what you'll see most teams do is like they'll communicate like in pairs, right? But the great teams, you'll hear it be repeated from every single player on the field, from one side to the other. So one person, let's say us three are all on the same team. If I'm on the Snake side, you're the back center, Tyler's on the Dorito side, I would make a call. It would go to you, and then it would go to the 2 on the Dorito side, and then it would get to Tyler, and then Tyler would say it, and then it would come back. So that's like some of what the best teams, like if you actually listen to Dynasty or you listen to Impact or Damage or Heat, all of them are so good at this that everyone knows at any given moment what is happening on the field. So there's no guessing games. There's no, oh, where is this guy? Did we lose him? You rarely see the best teams, make these mistakes. So an Impact kind of changed the game in the way that we communicate. And now that is a standard practice within every single team. Everyone needs to be doing this. Otherwise, you're not competing at the same level as, let's say, Heat or Dynasty or Impact or Damage or any of these teams who do it so well. And that just became standard practice. Running game gunning has become standard practice. Coaching is now become standard practice. Without a good coach, you can't compete at the high level. So these are just some things that change the game every 3 to 5 years, right? We saw coaching come in and it instantly created a new level that you're like, oh my God, we actually need this. And then you would see the top teams who were winning, they had coaches. And at the time when coaching first came out, half the league didn't even have a coach. They were still like players were coaching and they were making their own things. And then you would see like those teams that did have a coach just doing so much better because you're able to do more things. You're able to create stats and do and mark down like where people go. And do all of these things that nobody else was doing. And now it's become standard practice. If you're not watching these games and knowing tendencies of players, okay, after he shoots, like, and at what instance does he get out of the back center and move to the next bunker, right? Because a lot of people, they do it at the same pace, whether that's 5 seconds or 6 seconds or 7 seconds. You look at those things. So you know as a back center player, okay, I can shoot my shot and I have about 5 to 7 seconds before I need to look for this move. And if I can stop him and I can trap him, then now he's not playing his game, but I'm playing mine. So you've already, that little thing, you now have an edge on that team, right? And we all do these things. All the best teams do these things. So now that's become standard practice. So, and that's such a long thing to get to my one.
No, it's excellent though, dude.
To
that's
drive
excellent.
it home.
Yeah, 100%.
Is what sold me on this team is I truly believe that everything has become so slow. Okay, like you see the top teams playing it at a slow level. And even this field, which we saw was the fastest probably in the last like 3 years.
I don't know.
Right?
I think Dynasty's played faster than most teams.
On this field or just in general?
In general. Like
Don't say in general.
No, dude, in general. Like even going back, like most of our finals games, it's funny. We'll watch and all the games are like 2-3, this and that.
Yeah,
and then like they play us and it's like a 5-6. You know, it's like I feel like all of our games are much higher scoring than the average at whatever tournament we're at.
But you think overall? You think overall? Because I would disagree. I would disagree.
Oh, I do. I think our games have a higher points scored than the average of the tournament. I'd be willing to bet that.
Over the last 3 years?
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that.
It's not by accident though. They know that the more points they play, the better chance. Or actually, I guess an opponent. Yeah, if you play more points,
right,
you're going to win more of those points. So you guys are steering the ship in a way to where you don't let games go super low point.
We've had such rare like 2-1, 3-2 games. It's happened. I'm not saying it hasn't happened.
Right, of course.
But in the last 4 years since 2020, the amount of tournaments where I'm like, everyone's playing so slow, and then we get to the like Orlando last year was so slow. And then us against Damage in the finals was literally like, 6-5 or something like that. Right.
Yeah.
I do think our team has been an anomaly in the last couple seasons where I believe that our average points per event is higher than the average points of every team.
Of every team.
Yeah. Okay, I'd be willing to bet that.
And I think that's what Justin's getting at is that like this is the new.
It is. He's right. I know. He's fucking on to something.
So to drive,
but he's trying to say it's the Russians.
Yeah. To drive. Well, that's what they sold me on. I'm not saying that they're inventing the wheel here, but
right.
But as a whole, as in general, the majority of the teams in the league try to, and you see it on Sunday, they try to slow the field down because you're trying to make less mistakes. right? You're trying to limit the mistakes on Sunday, but what sold me on it is they want to create as many points as possible. And if you create as many points as possible and you're going against, these other teams, they're not prepared to play 12 points or 14 points in a match, right? Especially deep on Sunday. It's very tough to continue to beat your body up through an entire weekend and play over 100 or 120 points. Some players and a lot of teams aren't equipped for that. They're just not. A lot of the teams, run the same line. So if you can run them deep and that you have trained to go deep, it's like a UFC fight. When you go 5 rounds, the champion usually, defends his title, or the guy who wins is the one who's better prepped to go that distance, right? So what they sold me on is they want to make the game faster pace. And even if teams are going to slow it down, we're going to continue to just drive it home. And if we're losing points, we're losing points, but we're going to play 10 to 14 points in a match. And if you look at all of our games, and your games might reflect the same thing, Marcelo, is all of our games went over 10 points. Or the majority of them went over 10 points, where everybody else, if you look at their average, was probably around 5, 4, 5, 6, 6 points, where ours averaged about 10 or 11, somewhere in that range. So it literally doubled it. So we were successful in what we wanted to accomplish for the first event. And I believe the results showed that. We ended up taking
I agree
third.
with you.
We ended up taking third, but no matter what, it was like, okay, we went into the event not even trying to win the event or even go deep in the event. Our main goal was to learn this style and learn how to play the field as fast as possible and continue to just drive it home, no matter what, win or lose. That was our goal. It didn't matter whether making Sunday was it or not. It was just, can we do this?
And why do you think that is that team's philosophy? What do you think they're onto, that for some reason they want to, in their eyes, change the mold, that's going to be like the way to win?
So I believe, and this is my opinion, right? I believe it's that if we are training more than everybody else, if our mechanical skills, our shooting on the break is more mechanically sound than everybody else, then if you go deeper into these points, then it's not muscle memory anymore. Fatigue starts to kick in. So now if you're playing, especially in these hot summer months that we're going to be coming up on, fatigue starts to kick in. So muscle memory no longer can work anymore when fatigue starts to kick in.
More points.
Exactly. More points. More sweat, more salt loss, all of these things, fatigue kicks in. And now we have trained, we've prepared, we've done everything that we can to go as deep as possible, right? And you're not equipped for that. At least that's the hope, right?
Sure.
You're not equipped for that. So we're going to beat you in the fatigue game. And I'm okay with saying all of this. And I'm happy saying this because either you're going to do what needs to be done to play at that level, but I guarantee you 99% of the league isn't going to do it. So I'm happy to tell the secrets. And
I'm with you. People be on the show and they're like, I don't want to give too much. I'm like, dude, I get up here and talk about literally 98% of our secrets. Go do it.
Yeah.
That's a different thing.
I challenge you to do it. I'm happy to say it because
it.
I've been on most of these pro teams, on the top level teams. I've won many tournaments. We all have. So we know what it takes to win. And we've been on those teams that have been a little bit content and they've kind of sat back a little bit and they're happy with their success. So I know nothing's going to change in those organizations. I know for a fact nothing's going to change on these teams.
Fucking crazy.
They're not going to go that extra mile. They're not going to train five days a week, the same thing we are. They're just not going to do it. They're going to continue to do the same regimen.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to push the game to the next level.
Do you not think that can maybe bite you a little bit though? Because there are just fields, man, where good guns, you can control people. And like, if you're just trying to run and have this fast pace, You know how it is. Like that's how you get down a couple points really quick.
Yeah, and sure, and I think that's why going
Hold on.
in yeah.
Not with 22 snake beams, homie.
I think maybe the new layouts might change that a little
Yeah,
bit with
you're right.
if they implement
Maybe.
all the beams and like you're able to just kind of crawl around everywhere. And like
Yeah.
this field, there wasn't many good spots to kind of just lock it down. And there are
Right.
those fields that you can lock it down, and that's where
Sure.
it's going slow. But they believe that even because we had the long conversation about this before I joined the team, they believe that even with these fields that you can lock down, that we can still continue to play fast. And I'm excited for that. And honestly, I felt
I
so
like
good at the event, like getting into the snake and being practically being the one. I mean, me and Malloy were like trading off, but going from last year to this year where I was literally playing a 3 in the back, barely moving, not doing, and granted, I did have an injury towards the end of the year.
Bro, quit talking shit about that. That's a good role.
Not doing much. I enjoy that role, but I would rather turn that role, like the 3, also into an aggressive attacker. And I think that's absolutely possible. If you can come out of the back, out of the 3 spot, and then turn into a weapon 1 and be a weapon at the end of the game, I think that is what changes the game. It's like how basketball,
I agree.
right now, like there's no center anymore. Like there's a 5, but there's no
but he can
big
shoot
man
threes
in the center. Exactly.
That 5 can shoot threes.
You have to be able to shoot, and that's changed. It's become more of a shooting game rather than, hey, hand it to the big man, let him do his post work, and he's just gonna dunk on the guy that's underneath him, like Shaq used to do. It was a posterize. He would posterize people. So I think that if you can turn that 5 or that big man, the 3, into an absolute weapon, then that's going to change. It's going to change the style where instead of playing that slow, because there's, if you go back and you watch these games, even when it's slow on Sunday, there are so many moves that you could have made to be the aggressor that people just don't do because they're afraid of making those mistakes. What if I go and this guy happens to shoot and I die? Then I look bad, and then I'm not going to get a spot, and I'm not going to continue to play, and whatever goes through your mind in that moment, you are trying to make as little mistakes as possible, because the less mistakes you make, then there's less room for error. But if you can retrain your brain to, I can still make these moves, I can still be the aggressor, I can still be the attacker, but still with as little mistakes as possible, then you're doing the same thing, but in a different way. Right. So it does change the game.
And also when you're playing an opponent who on paper, you should beat 9 out of 10 times, the less points you play, they might get lucky and maybe steal a couple. And then if you can't get those points on the board, you're going to lose. So it's more advantageous to play more points for a team that is said better, because you're going to have a better opportunity of winning the lion's share of those points.
Absolutely.
And I know that's a philosophy that some teams hold. And it's like, that's why if don't make it hard on the coach and try to move the game along. That way you can play more points. And it's very interesting to hear this theory on paintball in regards to the athleticism. It's no secret. We're not getting any younger. Every day that passes, we are aging. And to have a team that's going to press the field in such a way to try to tire teams out is a very interesting, thought.
Yeah, look at it this way too. You can be much more creative on the break, because if you're playing more points, right? If you're playing more points, you're trying to push the envelope, right? Then you can be more creative in your actual game plans. Because if you're only playing 4 or 5 points, then you're like, oh, fuck, if we risk one time to the corner and we get shot, then we've died 25 or even 50% if we try to run it twice. But if you play 12 and you get shot only going twice to the corner, then it's minimal, because you lose that. If you lose that side, then you can blow it quick. And that point is 15, 20 seconds long. What is that in the grand scheme of an entire match?
9% maybe.
It's not much. So you can get more creative with your play calls. The coach can have a little bit more fun with it as well.
And the Russians have always been at the forefront of play calling.
Yeah.
It is the one team that will do the only thing. You go to practice and you look at a field and you're like, this spot sucks. Nobody's going to play this.
Yeah.
And then you get to the tournament and Kirill's in the pin shooting you.
We'll use it.
Like,
We'll use it.
What is he doing in the damn pin? You know, and it actually opens up the playbook so much more. And you're right. It fits right into more points, because if it doesn't work, cool. But guess what? The rest of the match, I'm worried about that pin.
Exactly. You have to be worried about it. So now you're not 100% on your shot on a quick shot, because you're like, he could show up here any second and he can wrap and I can die. So I have to be careful of this. So you change the way that you play, you change your mentality. And the second that the other team can dictate the way that you play, they've already won, right? And it's not perfected, right? It's not perfected in that way. But for the majority of the league, if you can dictate the way that they play and you're in control of how they play, then you are going to win more points. You're going to win more matches.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. All right, so obviously we gotta talk about the elephant in the room. You went from AC Diesel to Russian Legion. How did that look like? What was that like for you? Obviously the transition seems to have been really well. You're working hard with the guys, but kind of walk us through that transition from going from Diesel to Russia.
Okay, well, I think the biggest transition would be I'm just happier, like in general. Like I'm happier to be on the field. I'm happier to be playing paintball. I'm happier to be talking about paintball. I have a more happier mindset from last year to this year, and maybe some of that is on account of having an injury, missing an event, not playing up to expectations. But it was last year was just incredibly frustrating, because it was supposed to be a minimum 2-year thing where we are supposed to be building a championship team. But there was so much like added pressure from event to event. We had no stability in the coaching slot. And all of those things just kind of had a compound effect that made it very difficult to just play your own game. You're having to constantly think about, especially as a leader, and I'm sure we all understand that leader role. I'm pretty sure we're all leaders in our own right on our team. As a leader, it's very difficult to focus on your own game, but then also make sure that everybody else is playing up to their expectations. Because as a leader, that's your job. Your job is to make sure that everybody else on the team is also having some success, right? It's your job to help propel them into that next level, to motivate them, to want them to do better. And last year, it was very frustrating, very tough, because we had no stability. And we were trying to replicate a game that is kind of like 3 years before last year, right? Like we were trying to replicate more of an Impact style, like slow, where they haven't played that, and we're trying to build that, and just wasn't working. And you saw them try to play that same style at Vegas and have even worse results as last year. So I feel like we were trying to implement a system that kind of is an old style that just doesn't work anymore. And I'm not going to say it doesn't work, because we still see some of the teams do it, but it's more of a thing that's getting
like Damage
phased
does it
out.
great, right?
Right. It's getting phased out. But like, look at Damage. Look at the results that they had at this last event. Right. So I believe that the game is changing in that respect, and nothing against like Damage. They are some of the best players in the world, same as Impact, but you're trying to replicate a game that was invented 3 or 5 years ago. And maybe 5 years. 5 years ago now is when it first was like kind of implemented.
Longer. You guys started doing that in like 16 when you started winning.
Okay, yeah.
9 years.
Yeah.
We old.
Yeah.
It's 2024.
I forget how, dude, time goes so fast, bro.
It's 9 years, bro.
It feels like 5 years ago.
It feels like 5 years ago.
So they were trying to implement that, and again, like you saw them continue to try to do the same thing that they tried to do last year and have worse results with it. They have one key, and that's Alex Goldman, to go as fast and as hard as possible, get as many kills as you possibly can. But then either he dies or he wins the point, and everybody else is still in the back.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, and I want to see them do good. I wish no ill will on any team, because if every team is propelling themselves to that next level, then they build everybody else up. It makes everybody have to rise to that occasion. So it's in my best interest as a player to see all of the teams get better, because that means I'm getting better. That means my team's getting better. So I want these teams to get better, like Hurricanes and Aftermath making top 4. That's important for our league. That's very, very important, because now you're seeing teams who are in the bottom half, not Hurricanes, but Aftermath, who are in the bottom half, and if you go off the stats of last year, Russian Legion was in the bottom half of the league last year, to where 3 new teams are in a top 4, a brand new teams in the finals. That's very, very important for our league, because it either pushes those players and those teams to the next level, or they fall behind and they die. Mm-hmm. And that's like, it's just the way of sports. So they've achieved this new height and this new greatness, and it's awesome to see. It's amazing. It's exciting, because I'm excited. Like I haven't done like a lot of these podcasts lately. Like last year, I was not in the mood. I was not in the right mentality, the right mindset. I just didn't want to do it, because I just didn't enjoy talking about it. Like I just wasn't happy, but now I'm like so excited, so pumped. Like I could sit here and I could do this all day, because I'm very, very just excited and happy with the way that the league is going. The teams are everyone is playing at a new level, and it's just awesome to see. And it makes me want to push even harder and harder in, let's say, the latter stage of my career.
You're consumed by it. Yeah, man. You're consumed by the game. Yeah. You love the game. And we're excited to hear that you're injury free. You're having fun again. You're enjoying the game. Because it can be a game that tests you on so many levels. And the paintball game in general is such a multifaceted thing. So by the time you corner the game and say that it's this way, it's already moving in another direction, because, that's just the way sports work. And it'll always continue to do that. So if you're trying to be really good at paintball, you're going to have to be good at bobbing and weaving. Shout out to Bobby Weaverton. You got to bob and weave, and you got to make moves on the fly, and start to really think outside of the box. That's the only way that you're going to continue to progress and become better.
Yeah. One of the biggest things that I get asked, I'm sure you guys get asked the same question, is like on your Instagram, social media, whatever it may be, maybe even through your podcast, is how can I become a pro? How can I reach this level? And the first thing that I always ask them, or that I tell them, is, how often do you play? Right? That's like the first thing that I ask. How often do you play, and what does your play look like? Mm-hmm. Because it's
every Saturday, bro.
It's very important. And
every Saturday, I'm so committed. What do you mean?
Saturday.
Every Saturday, I'm super committed. Haven't missed a Saturday all year.
You hear. That's the most of what you hear. Like you like it's not even a joke. We laugh about it, because like we know, like, hey, okay, you're never going to progress if you're just doing that. And so we laugh at that. But that's the majority of what we hear. But the truth is, if you are not playing either the same as me or more, then you're never going to get past my level. You're never going to get past Marcel. You're never going to get past Tyler, right? You need to be putting in these extra times. You can't just go to the field, play points, and then go, oh, I'm on my way to being a professional. It just doesn't work like that in any sport. Like, you can read any sports book, any sports psychology book, and you can understand off of one book what it takes. It's just like people, they ask the question and they truly want to know, like they truly do want to know, but there's a difference between wanting to know and wanting to work for it. There's a big difference between those. And I think a lot of people don't see that line between asking, and they're like, oh, I can ask. And if I ask and he tells me, then that's the ingredients to how I can become a pro. but it's not. It's
It's
actually
not,
going
dude.
out there and doing the time. And it's not just what you do on the field. Like, obsess over it. Like, watch the matches, watch them over and over and over, because that's what I'm going to do. As soon as I got back from my flight, I'm going to do this podcast with you, and then tomorrow I'm going to go to the gym, I'm going to do my training, and I'm going to watch all the matches from the entire event, because I'm so curious as to what every team looked like after the fact, because like it's really good to go back and get those wheels working on what you thought was working in the event and what you thought was going to be successful, to then what was actually successful at the end of the day. So it's very important that you see that distinction between what you thought worked and what actually worked, and then putting that together after the event, watching it and going, okay, here's where we were wrong, and now let's try to either recreate what worked, or let's get away from why we thought this way in the first place. Right? It's very important
Dude, totally.
that you see that and you find that distinction and you can move on from that.
Yeah, it's funny when you're at an event and you're watching the games, you can often have this lens of like when a move gets done that confirms how you think the field should be played, you're like, oh, like it works. This is
Right.
what should be happening. Or if someone gets shot going to a spot that you've been saying like that spot's not going to be makeable, you're like, oh, look, but it's not until after the event when the tournament's been won by somebody and they've won it in a certain way, then you can clearly go back and look. And not only will you'll see a lot of things, right? How did it develop from Friday to Sunday? How did your mindset from Thursday or Friday, whenever your first day on the actual layout, so the weekend before the event, your mindset that weekend of like, how is this field going to be played? How is it going to be won? Because it always changes, and going through that process, going through everyone's games and trying to figure out other teams' thought process and how they approach practice. And like, okay, why did they show up to Vegas thinking that they could make this spot all the time?
Yeah.
Like these are the things that help you become an elite level pro player. I get that divisionals don't have the luxury of scouting in that way because these games don't really pertain to them, but you can, if you know what you're looking for, you can absolutely learn this. If you know what you're watching for, you can see how teams develop throughout the weekend. You can see how the game, the brand develops throughout the weekend of like, how the field is playing. The first day it's like everyone's right hand Dominic on the snake side, boom, 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 boom. And then there's this one team that's throwing it in left-handed over on that Dorito side and they're having success, and then like, okay, so teams are adjusting and then you get to Sunday and now teams are winning through the middle. Interesting. It's weird how that developed. Why did it develop that way? And you can learn from that. Even though you're not going to play those teams, you can learn.
Yep.
And it's you're absolutely right, Justin. It's so much better to watch games. We watch all the games while we're there. I think like we'll only miss a few if you're like driving to the field or something, right?
Of course.
Yeah, but it's like we watch all the games, but it's an entirely different perspective when you get home and then you watch them again. You look at it a totally different way. It's a totally different lens.
Yeah. You can look at it more objectively after the fact because you saw what was successful and what wasn't. So instead of like, you think in that moment during the tournament, the way that you're playing the field, especially if you're having success, is the right way. A lot of teams do that when you're having success and you're 3-1 going into Sunday. That we think that the way that we're playing the field is the correct way, but then you lose in a quarterfinals match and you're like, man, fuck, we really thought that what we were doing was the right way, but then we got blown out, or we got beat by 1 point or whatever that may look like, and then you can watch that objectively rather than subjectively, because in the tournament it's all subjectively. You're not looking at it from an objective mindset. So it's better to digest from the tournament, come back, look at it, and then go, okay, man, we were idiots. Like, we were stupid. Like, we thought that this was working, but then we got just absolutely demolished in the middle, and we thought the middle sucked. I talked to some of the teams on Friday. They were like, no, the middle is horrible. And I'm like, oh, man, these teams are for a rude awakening.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of the teams, they didn't play the middle. Like, look at Damage. Damage didn't play the middle, and they had bad results because of it. I think the middle was a key part to
Absolutely.
playing this field. And you saw almost every one of the teams that made it onto Sunday had some success in the middle. Maybe they didn't do it every point, but they had some success in the middle, whether that was just going to that tower and then breaking off of it from there, or actually going all the way up through. But the teams who didn't play the middle.
Well, here's what's
Didn't play it
funny,
at
and
all.
I say this all the time, dude. When you have a layout, everything on the layout is good.
Yeah.
It just matters when you use it, when and how you use it.
Mhm.
Literally everything on every layout is good. It's all about when and how you use it. You know, that pin is a perfect example.
Yeah.
That pin at the last is a perfect example. It's like, we didn't even have a name for it. We didn't even name that pin. And I think our team has one of the most complex set of codes and names for bunkers. We literally didn't even name that pin. You know, like,
I'm sure a lot of teams did it. And a lot of teams probably were like, dude, this bunker sucks. Why would you ever go here?
Well, it was really good. You could trap the back center. It was
really
a surprise.
Yeah.
You know, and it's unexpected. And so, like, no, you can't do it every point. Like, actually, that was one of the things that I picked up in, you know, when we played you guys in the semifinals was I started putting a lot of pressure on Kirill there rather than trying to shoot for the wide guy. And I think it changed his game a little bit, right? Yep. And it's like, it was so good because it was so unexpected, because it was so bad. But that's why it was good. Yeah. You know, but that is like how teams have to look at the game. And you get a lot of divisional players and they get so set in this, like, they've got their 5 spots that they want to go to, and they have their one way they want to win down a field because it worked in their one practice against one team.
Yep.
And then they get to the tournament and you have 20 other teams from across the country that are playing different brands of paintball, and you're surprised by something. And now you're running into issues.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
in practice, you need to try everything, because especially at the divisional level, it's a lot harder at the pro level, but you can still get away with it at the pro level. But at the divisional level, where scouting is a lot harder to do, if you can come up with a very creative play that can steal 1 point, that can just score you 1 point per match, that in the long run, you're going to win more games and you're probably going to win more tournaments if you can steal 1 point away from the other team with a creative out of the pocket play, where it's just like, man, this is probably stupid, but it's so dumb that no one else is going to expect it. So it's going to cause a complete thorn in the side of the other team, and they're not going to know how to play it at all. And then they're going to get like super antsy. They're going to make mistakes because they don't know, hey, I'm not comfortable playing against what you're doing, right? So it causes people to make mistakes because of it. So I think even at the divisional level, it's probably more important to be a little bit more creative and have a little bit more like out of pocket plays.
Totally.
Where you can steal some points, especially on Sunday.
100%. Yeah, risking it in divisionals. That's how I had a lot of success coaching divisional teams, especially like D3, D4. I haven't coached D4 in a while, but it was like, hey, guess what? We're doing this route all the way to their Dorito.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's gonna work.
Just trust.
Just trust.
Yeah.
You know, and then we win a 20-second point, and they're like, oh my God, that was the coolest thing ever. I was like, well, it was pretty easy, but it's not gonna work as you work up through the ranks. Let's just, keep that here.
Yeah.
But your philosophy, we had a guest in the back. But that philosophy is kind of what you're alluding to right now within the pros. Still, like, risk is rewarded. And, Dynasty, again, I think that has been a big key to our success. Like, really, if you go back to a lot of our matches on Sunday, we're willing to take a lot of risk, whether it's off the break or even in matches, like the team's just willing to take risk. And Ryan explains it really well. And he's absolutely correct. You have like the damage brand of paintball and like the impact of like 5 years ago, where it's like, let's play mistake-free paintball. We have better players than everybody else, which at the time you guys definitely did. Your team was absolutely stacked with talent, right? And damage stacked with talent. The top 14, like, pretty stacked. So for the most part, you can win on that alone. You just stay alive, communicate, don't lose bodies. People will make mistakes.
Yeah.
But when you get to that, like, top, especially now, if you're two titans that are battling like that, you're just waiting for someone to fuck up. Like, it's almost lucky, and it's weird. Like, somebody has to go and try to win the game. You have to like try to do something. So it's an interesting concept that has absolutely changed as I think the top teams have gotten more competitive. Aggression is being rewarded. It is. It just absolutely is. Players that are willing to like take the risk are being rewarded, and they're making smarter and better moves than ever before. They're not mistakes. They're well-calculated moves. And that's like the next evolution.
Yeah. I know we kind of sidetracked. You guys asked the question of, AC Diesel.
Oh shit. I stepped away for a sec. What was that question? Because I wanted to ask a question about Diesel too.
Tyler asked pretty much just like the transition from last year and onto the Russians.
Okay.
And I feel like I answered the question thoroughly, but I actually wanted to ask you guys a question because I'm actually curious about this too. Like, how can you have, like, they have a lot of talent on that team.
Diesel.
Yes.
Okay.
They have a lot of talent, a lot of great players, and I think one of the best players to ever play in Alex Goldman on that team.
Absolutely.
But they have some of the worst results that a team can have. Like they got 20th place. They got last place in Vegas. And they lost to a brand new team who purchased their spot. They didn't even earn their spot. They purchased their spot. No disrespect to Blast Camp at all. They played great.
Well. Yeah.
They played great in the hardest bracket of the tournament.
Yeah,
they were able to score points and put some points on some of the best teams in the world. And they beat, AC Diesel. Why do you guys think that AC Diesel isn't having the success that they should with the talent that they have?
I mean, it's apparent they're just not all on the same page with the same flow of direction. Like you really have to have everyone signed up and on board with a certain cadence. Whatever that cadence is going to be, everyone's got to be bought in. And it's just kind of apparent that it's just not, and I don't know why that is. But they've got to just remember what we've been talking about as well. The current iteration of paintball rewards aggression. It rewards, obviously 2-man operation, 3-man operation, 5-man connectivity of everybody understanding what's going on there. So if they just put those cornerstones at the top of their, awareness of what they're trying to accomplish and really work on those principles, I think they would have a lot of success. But it just doesn't seem like the cohesion is fully there. And I couldn't even begin to say why that is. But I don't know. Yeah.
Marcelo, what's your take?
Well, I think cutting you was a huge mistake or parting ways with you, however that went down. I'm not totally sure, but losing you was a huge mistake. I think they're missing a glue guy. But beyond that, you look at Diesel from years back before they picked everybody up last year, the team was successful, made Sundays. Yeah. Like the team was good, same players, so
same core.
Right. Same core. So to me, that says that there's a few issues. One, I think strategy is a problem. I think currently this year, post your departure, they struggle with strategy and they're going to continue to struggle with like figuring out how to play fields and stuff like that. Kyle's a pretty great mind, but still it's like, there's definitely levels to it. And I think they've just, people talk about mojo, right?
Yeah.
Mojo's a thing, man.
It really is a thing, dude. It's a real thing.
And like, they got no mojo.
Yeah.
They have no mojo. And that comes from having an individual within the camp that could step up and be a firecracker that's like, listen, we need to believe, right? Because Ty, I do think they're all bought into the program. I think maybe you could argue they're too bought into the program.
I guess.
And there's
I was trying to say the exact same thing. You said it a little better, but it is that like, that mojo.
Yeah. Like they're almost too bought into the program and too militant and too like, if I do this wrong, then it's the end of the world. If I do that wrong, it's the end of the world.
That's a good point.
There's there's no flow. There's no fun. There's no magic. There's none of that. And you have to have that. And you have to have the hard work. You have to have the discipline. You have to have the dedication. All that should be without being said. Yeah. But the X factor is somebody that makes all of them believe in one another. And Mouse is one of my best friends too. I know you talk to him all the time, Rab. I talk to Mouse too. I'm like, look, this is your project now. Like, you need to find a way to not just criticize and teach, because you're right in how to play the game, but you need to find a way to not just criticize and teach. You need to find a way to like make them feel better about themselves and perform better. Yeah. And that's actually been a great challenge of mine too. Like, with any teammate that I've ever had, it's so easy to just like get frustrated and yell and say, this is wrong, because it is wrong.
Yeah.
But but you got to do it in a way that helps. You have to be effective. So I think they're missing confidence in strategy, and I think they're missing confidence in each other. The team is good enough to, well, I think we could all agree they're definitely good enough to not be 20th place.
On paper, you put all those names on a piece of paper and you put them on the same team. And you go,
they should be top 8.
They shouldn't be 20th.
That team should be top 8. And in one event out of the season, they should be making a finals run. Yeah. Like, period. There is no other way around it. There's no excuses for it. So to me, it's dysfunction within the actual culture of the team. And when I talk about, building franchises and coaching divisional teams, I start with culture. And I talk about dynasty, and it's culture.
Yeah.
Culture is the number one thing. You have to build a culture where the players believe. It's like Todd Adamson. Shock didn't have a good first event. One crazy, weird, awkward penalty. Maybe their whole weekend goes differently. I don't know. They didn't have a great event, but I do believe that team's going to be good. And it's because of Todd Adamson.
Like top 4 good this year?
I think they will make a top 4 this year.
You think they will make a top 4
I think they will make a top 4 this year. Yeah.
Okay.
I think they can make a top 4 this year. Right? I think they can.
I think that they have the pieces, and I would agree with you. I think that they probably have one of the best cultures, because everybody is so hungry on that team, that the leadership is hungry, the coaching staff is hungry, from top to bottom. Correct. They have that culture where they want to win. They truly believe in the system. Correct. And they all do it for each other. You could feel that. We practiced them right before the event. Yeah. You can feel it. Like, there's an aura around that, and that aura is very powerful. So yeah, they didn't have the results they wanted, but that it is a very, very powerful thing when you can feel it outside of the org.
Yes.
And you have nothing to do with it. You can feel that aura. It is a powerful thing. It's a magical thing. And I do think that they can do some great things this year. I think I might be a little bit skeptical on a top 4, but I will definitely eat my words if they do it.
You know how it is, right? If the Sunday draw lines up right, like they're in the top 4. Yeah. So it's like it could happen, Yeah,
absolutely.
You could win. They could win an event this year. Nobody thought that Ironman team was going to win in 2020, and they surprised all of us.
Yeah,
right.
Fair enough.
Like, the point is, like, that organization has good culture from Todd Adamson, right? Like, it's a winning mentality, Dynasty, it's a winning mentality. Russians, I know that culture is good. I've been there. That team truly believes, and it's like built off of the hard work and dedication. I talk to Mouse all the time, and I'm like, okay, so how did you reprimand so-and-so for this and that? And I get it, but I'm like, dude, you got to give some like love too. It can't all be like, hey, if we don't do this, this, and this, then we're never going to win. It's got to be more like, if we do this, this, and this, we will win. There's a difference in those, in that narrative. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and if you do this, this, and that. Go ahead.
Okay. So it's funny that you bring this up. I wasn't gonna say it, but it's amazing that you did bring this up. I struggled with that tremendously last year, because I guess I hold everybody to a standard that's too high sometimes. That's too high. And so last year, I have incredibly low patience when it comes to making the same mistakes over and over and over again. I don't have
preaching in the choir. I am no saint. I'm with you, dog.
I am so bad at it. It's literally my worst quality. It's my worst trait. I have the worst patience when it comes to people making the same mistakes over.
It's not a bad trait. It's the same mistake. Like, make new mistakes. We good.
Yes.
Same one over and over. What in the fucking fuck?
Yeah, you can make 100 mistakes, and I'm absolutely okay with that, as long as you're learning from those mistakes, because that's how we grow. That's how we grow as humans. It's how we grow as professionals. It's just how we get better as people. But if you constantly make the same mistake over and over and over and over and over again, at what point are you just an idiot? And that's where I lose the patience, because it's like, last year we had a really big problem, and I'm saying this from AC Diesel perspective.
Of course.
We had a huge problem with survivability. We preached it in practice. We beat it the fuck up. Everyone beat it up, like to the point where it became so much pressure to just be alive, rather than like, okay, instead of like trying to make mistakes at practice and learning from them, we created an atmosphere that was more of, if you make a mistake, you're going to get beat up. You're going to get beat up because of it, right? It's like like beat up mentally. You're going to get beat up. You're going to be mentally abused by the rest of the team. And that was the atmosphere that was created. I'm not saying that's the same atmosphere that they have going for the first event, because I wasn't there. I don't know. But I will say that I was probably a contributing factor to that, because over a course of a whole year, when we're preaching the same thing about, hey, like, these, we need this, and this, and this, and this, and this to be successful. 5 things, right? These 5 things. But we're continuing to make or create the same mistakes over and over and over again, whether that albeit be in practice, a tournament, a Sunday, whatever it is. When you're when you're making those same mistakes day in and day out, from practice to the tournament, we're not learning from that. At what point does the volcano erupt? Right? At what point do you just go, man, I don't know if we are ever going to learn this. I don't know if we can learn this. So it's like, there's that fine line. And I think that it created probably more of a cancer last year. And I'm not saying it's completely my fault. It was the whole team. It was the atmosphere's fault. But I was probably a contributing factor of like, hey, we've preached this all event. Or all year, we're making the same mistakes. At what point can we just learn from them and move on from it? But we continued to make those. So it's like, it was very frustrating. And it was the bulk of every meeting. It was the bulk of all of our conversations. And we just couldn't seem to just break the mold. We couldn't seem to break out of that funk. And so for me, it was very frustrating. I started to get a little bit more frustrated at practice, lose patience a little bit faster than normal. And then that in turn affected the way that I played. Like, there was a lot of, and again, I'm not saying that that's the same problem that they had, because now they had even worse results than they had last year, minus me. So it's like, I don't know if it's the atmosphere, like you said, but honestly, dude, I wish they could figure it out, because I tell Mouse all the time, bro, I'm his biggest fan. I am his biggest fan. I love when he does some cool shit and he gets a 3-piece or a 4-piece. I'm the first one that texts him and messages him and calls him and is like, bro, that was fucking awesome, dude. I loved watching you play. I'm his biggest fan. So for him to get 20th place,
we're trying to get him on the Russians.
I tried.
That's funny. That's one of the Discord questions. I was like, oh, it's perfect timing. But one of the guests in the Discord.
Yeah, I tried.
Yeah, I tried.
So while we're on the Vegas layout, why don't we just crack it open and let people know the way the layout play? There's tons of people who are going to be going out and playing this layout in events in the next coming couple of weeks. And it's no sweat off our backs. We're already done with this layout and on to the next one. So what was your take on the spiral style layout that they threw for event number 1?
Well, and I talked to Marcelo about this at the event. And as professionals, we're going to figure out the field. We are going to break it down better than anybody else. It's what we're so good at. Like, of course, no matter what layout it is, no matter what field it is, we will break it down and we will tear it down and we'll figure out every single detail about the field to be successful on it. Like, that's what we're good at. We've been doing it for over 2 decades, right? So, what I had a problem with is with all the eyes on our sport, we had the most teams ever in the history of the first event, right? So more players, more eyes, more people. Like we're talking about actual like other pro athletes that came and hung out. I think from a fan standpoint, from a spectator standpoint, it was probably the worst thing that we've ever seen. That being said, I don't know for a fact how well the announcers did because I didn't get a chance. When we watch film, we watch it with none of the sound on. Like it's just us communicating the field, and like when we watch film of the games of your
Do you guys
games,
still do
whatever.
it the same way?
Yes.
To where it's like,
Yeah.
you watch, and then as soon as someone gets shot, you pause,
Yes.
and then someone. Okay.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's fucking the best way to watch
Yeah,
film
it's
with
one
your
of the
team.
best things to do. Like it's a divisional team. If you have access at your practice, this is such an easy thing to do. You can have someone film your points, and then at the end of it, they could send it to a group. You can watch it. It's better to do it amongst the team. Is watch the film. As soon as a player dies, you stop the film, and then you go, okay, that person then has a chance to explain how he died to the rest of the team. The coach gets involved.
Or
all the
she.
other players gets, yes,
Mr.
or she.
Rabackoff.
Absolutely. Sorry. Got to be inclusive. But it's important that everybody talks about the mistake that was made, right? Because then you learn from that. You learn from that mistake. So not only does that player not make that same mistake, or they go, hey, I died from this. I didn't even know that guy could shoot me. But now the whole team knows, oh man, so if I'm here, I can shoot that guy and I can scare him or whatever. Or if you play that spot, you know to look out for that while you're in that point. So it helps everybody grow a lot faster when you can always talk about the deaths of the players or what was able to give you some success on that side.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, so like going back, I think that from the spectator standpoint, I think it's tough because, as all of you guys can attest, when we first looked at it as a team and we're trying to break down, okay, what are we going to call this? How are we going to communicate this? The first day was kind of a struggle, right? It was kind of a struggle and like trying to get everybody on the same page. Like, what are we going to call this? And then you're looking at it and like, this side's a snake, this side's a Dorito. So if we're as professionals and like we figured it out, but on the first day as a professional, if we're struggling with it, then a fan isn't at the same level as us, who can break down the field and has a lot of pro mindset. If we had trouble with it, they are going to have an extremely hard time with understanding the flow of the game, what it looks like, and that in turn, the announcers are going to have a tough time again. Yeah. I haven't watched it, so I don't know yet.
They did. And Justin, yeah. So look, I felt so bad because Jason Trozen is the man. He really is. I think he's done a phenomenal job as commissioner. I think 90% of his layouts have been amazing. This one he brought in Dallas 2 years ago. I didn't like it. I was like, this isn't good for the sport. It just, anytime you have something that uproots every foundational thing that these pro organizations do, it doesn't seem like a good idea. Teams build, we have decades of codes that have been built into like sides. And so when you can, it's weird. And anyway, I commented on the NXL post when it got released. I said, you have got to be kidding me. Yeah, everyone saw it. Everyone loved it. People loved the comment. Jason was really hurt by it. And I felt bad because I was like, bro, one, I thought it was a pretty harmless thing. Like, it was like kind of funny because everyone hears me on PTG talk about how much I did not like that layout for that reason, that it was hard to talk about. And then the haters to my comment are like, oh, what? You can't play this? I'm like, it has nothing to do with playing. Playing, we're going to figure it out. Yep. We all figured it out. We all figured out playing the field. It was fun. No issues playing. To me, my concern was from a fan perspective, just like you're talking about, Justin, is how are we going to talk about the game? The game's already confusing to people. We've spent decades establishing like a Dorito side and a snake side. Maybe one day that changes, but like, to mix it up to where, and I do think after, dude, this took me like 8 days, because obviously the layout is not released that long, of thoroughly thinking about it to come to a conclusion where I'm like, okay, maybe on the webcast, if they would have talked about it like this, it would have worked. But that's not the point. Like if it's that hard, that's not good.
Yeah.
Right. That is my only point, is that it would. And so it was confusing. The announcers were up there and they would be like, oh, the top side snake and the bottom side Dorito snake. But they should have never used Dorito snake. The issue was they used the same term too many times. So if they would have all been on the same page of like, we're going to call this the Dorito wedge instead of the snake. Okay. But then they'd be like, okay, Impact's playing, the Russians, and J-Rab gets into the snake on the top side. Oh, and then Zupa gets into the snake. You're thinking like, but it's on the other side.
Yeah.
And they weren't quick and they weren't efficient enough in, and that's a lot to ask of the announcers. Like this is, you're throwing this layout on them last minute. We have these predetermined things that we've agreed on as a league and players for a long time. So again, my comment was solely based around that. And the announcers did as best as they could, top side, bottom side. But there was still, when I was watching, there was still some confusion of like, they would say, oh, get into the snake, but I'm watching and I'm like, well, that's confusing because it's this one. And, it's the Dorito one. We're calling that the Doritos. It's just tough because I know what Jason's trying to do. His goal is to make things as fun as possible to play. That's actually his job. His job is not really to be concerned about the webcast. Yeah. That's really not his job.
It's not.
But it kind of has to be because paintball is convoluted in that way. And we're all trying to grow this thing in that direction. And so, these things have to be taken into consideration. I think it was an interesting story. It is a cool perspective when you say, okay, snake players are going up against Dorito players. That's dope, right? Like, for the first time, you're going to see like Malloy going up against a Chris Shear or something. Like, okay, that's sick. That's a cool story. Man, I just don't know how necessary it is. I actually hate it a little less than I did when I originally posted that comment. I will say that.
Yeah.
But my whole point was, and it was what I said to you, J-Rab, is like, if you have all of the top pros confused as hell on how to talk about the damn field in team meetings, and you're like, oh, he was in this bunker. Wait, that side or our side? Then it's probably not great for television,
No, it's just not. And you said it. I'm gonna watch the game, so I'll probably have a better judgment after the fact. But
totally,
I know for a fact that they were gonna struggle for it. You've confirmed that. I said it from day one that if the announcers are gonna struggle for it, so that means how can you expect somebody's girlfriend or somebody's mom or somebody's dad who doesn't play the sport much or hasn't played, and that their kid is a divisional kid and they're trying to show it to their parents or their family or their friends or whatever, and they're you can't get them excited if the announcers don't know what the hell is going on or they don't know what they're talking about. If they're confused and they're creating confusion, if they're creating confusion and thinking that it's the best way to talk about the field, it's just not the best thing for our sport. And I didn't envy anybody who had that job over the weekend.
I went up there for a game and I was like, it was like laughable. I was like, just trying to like, and I had my version of it. So I did the best I could, but
of course.
Dude, what the fudge?
Yeah. And then you're not even on the same page as them. Cause like you have your own.
I was, cause I'd been watching. So I tried to like tailor it, but I'm like,
okay,
I'm like, what's funny is in my mind, I'm like, your way's wrong. So like, I'm going to do it my way, which is probably even more confusing,
Yeah. It's tough.
As a player though, like from the perspective of a viewer, but as a player, how was it playing the field as one of the pros out there?
I thought it was awesome to play.
Yeah, you got to play right-handed the whole time.
Yeah, well, honestly, ask
all the Dorito guys.
I like my left hand.
Everyone likes their left,
happy
dude.
to play on the.
I'm happy to play with my left. Stop it, dude. You love your right more.
But I okay, a little bit,
but you do.
Yeah. I think that the field was fun to play, but it was weird at the same time, and like. What happened, what you saw on Sunday is the snake sides would just be as aggressive as they can and get down to their side. And then it was kind of like, okay, who can bunker kind of who first? And if someone makes that move, then they're going to blow down that side. So it was just kind of a matter of who blew down the snake side first was winning the point. So at the end of the day, it kind of got a little bit one dimensional. You know, you add in the center play, but really most of it was like even like you guys, like Dynasty, they only went to the 4. They never broke out past the 4, the entire event. Like it was insane. They would just go to the 4, and then
we had Alex over there. We just had to get him in there safe, you know?
Yeah, you got him in there safe, and then like he would, try to make a move outside, and then like that's all. You guys won 99% of your points through the snake side, but so did every other team. Like if you look at Heat, Tyler was the one. You were the one playing the one, getting in there. Like both of us, we were the same, and we were known as like some of the best 2s in the game, right? But we ended up being the one. So that was like for me as a player, a lot more fun, a little bit more dynamic because I got to be the aggressor. I got to be the one that was in your face, bunkering people, and like so for me, like that was awesome because usually I'm the 2, not bunkering a lot of people, but more doing more gunfights.
That's how we made a career for ourselves. We didn't start in the back,
No one worth their salt has started from the back. We all started as a 1.
Yeah.
You're the young kid. Go up there
100%.
Dive in there. You got the healthy body. Go blow your back out and go bunker people, and we'll finish the game up.
Rab, I do real quick. I know we're on this subject, but I want to round out the diesel thing because it's crazy to go. Well, it's not crazy to go 0-4 in the bracket we had, but to lose the Blast Camp is crazy, right?
Yeah.
And I want to because you were part of the organization. What advice would you give to the organization? Like, what do you think is truly? I gave what I thought was fundamentally wrong. I think it's a culture thing, a glue thing, strategy. What do you think? I wanted to get kind of your perspective on that since you're now on the outside.
So this one is a little bit tricky. And usually, like you guys know me, most people who know me, like when I come onto these things, I'm a complete open book. And a lot of times it's gotten me in trouble and I've lost friends over it. Dave Baines being one of them. Like we don't even speak words anymore. And I've known him for so long. Like we are no longer friends. So I'm a very open book when it comes to these things. But this is
not going to on this one.
Well, it's a little bit tricky. And I'm not saying that I'm not going to. What I'm going to say, it's a tricky thing to talk about what I believe is the actual fundamental problems in that team and also burning bridges, right? Because I think that I could do both if I did it, and it would be hard to navigate that. So I'll try my best.
Okay.
But if I do leave, this might be the first time that I actually leave things out because I'm not in the business with losing more friends anymore.
He's maturing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if it's that, but I think I could have handled the situation with Dave a little bit better. And I'm not saying like when you have a friend for that long and you have a close friend who you talk to all the time and then you literally just lose that person out of your life completely. It's not something that I'm like proud of. Like I'm not proud that I lost that friend. Could I've handled it a little bit, the situation a little bit differently? Absolutely. Do I think that he's being a little bit stubborn? Yes. I think he's being extremely stubborn on the whole thing. And I think that it's not something to lose a 20-year friendship over. But that being said, with Diesel, I truly think that I'm gonna use management. Okay. I'm gonna use management as like they're up, like
perfect.
Okay. Their management, I think, puts a little bit too much pressure on in terms of salaries and things like that, in saying that you guys need to do better because this you get paid for it. Right. And it can't, I think with things like that, they can't be thrown in your face. Right? Because you're there to do the job just like everybody else. But when when that thing that is that while you're there, you're doing that to get paid, when it's continued to be thrown in your face, it doesn't really make you want to
Doesn't
work
feel
hard
good.
it doesn't feel good, and it doesn't make you want to work hard for the organization when you are working as hard as you can, you're doing your absolute best, and you're trying to be, in my case, you're trying to be a leader, and you want only the best for your team, right? That's all you want. Like every time I step out on the field, I'm doing everything that I can to make my team the best, to make me be the best player out there for my team. So in turn, we can be the best team possible. Every time I step out on the field, every time I talk about paintball, that's what I'm trying to do, because it's who I am. I want the best for myself. I want the best for my team. And for me to do that, I have to have these things. But when they're continued to be thrown back in your face, it makes it difficult to want to continue to work hard for those things, when you're just like, fuck, well, I'm going to do this, and then it's just going to get thrown in my face again. Like you're walking on eggshells. And I think that's like, and I don't know the mentality of, I didn't get a chance to practice that team. I didn't get a chance to like navigate the waters within that team for this year, but I did last year. And I assume not much has changed, because
Sure. I agree. So that's exactly what I was saying.
yeah,
Well, I haven't even been part of the team, right? But that's why I'm like, there's just, it seems like you're putting too much pressure on yourselves with this. Now, I got a little bit of a tough question, I guess. Pretty much the same roster, dude. You, Rab, Kyle, A-Rod, fill in the blanks. That team could beat anybody in the league if playing well. Brought the Latin Saints to finals.
Mm-hmm.
You have like the same team a year later. What is the difference there, right? I think that's probably what everybody wants to know. And so maybe you already answered it, though. Maybe is that management.
Yeah, well, I think actually last year, and I can't speak on this year, but last year, I truly believe that it was a stability in the coaching slot. When you're trying to build a championship team and you can't have stability, like just common stability in a team, and it's like any relationship that you've had with your family, with a wife or a girlfriend. If you're having problems with just like stability, like a stability issue, and this is a foundation, it's a fundamental thing that you must have in any relationship that you have, professional or whatever it is, family, friends, it doesn't matter. If you do not have stability in that relationship will fall apart. I'm sure everybody can attest to this. Anyone who's dated anybody who has had problems with their family or whatever, if you're a teenager, like it's a stability issue, and it's a fundamental problem. And we had stability issues last year, and it showed. The only times that we had like good success was with Hinman, and we got rid of him. Out of the 5 events, we had 4 different coaches. We had 4 different coaches. And then they go into the new year with another coach. So in 6 events, they had 5 coaches, bro. Like that's so many. That's too many. You can't have success. You can't have stability. And
why do you think they kept changing coaches? Why not stick with one and just say, look, let's go through the growing pains together? Why do you think they've
so I'll break this down for you very easily. So the Texas event, you remember the Texas event with all the wind and the rain, and it blew like tents over and it destroyed equipment.
Yeah.
Okay, so a Diesel had a booth at the event. The booth got absolutely destroyed. We lost product. They lost tents. They lost money because everything, like a lot of things, were destroyed. So Paulie, he runs the booths. He was also our coach at the time. He somehow decided that he wasn't going to coach anymore in the event, like literally stopped coaching and only worried about paint. So we had to pick up that role. We had to player coach. We had to call shots. I had to call lines. We had to do all of these things like as a team, right? Someone had to step up because he's no longer doing it. After that event ended, I was like, Mark, like, this is not okay. Like we can't have a coach that just disappears on us. And he's like, yeah, you're right. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. And then that happens. And then we get a different coach, and then we get Mike Hinman. And then Hinman, they don't like the way that, he treats players, right? Or that's what they felt, so they get rid of him. And then Mark goes on to coach at Cup. So that's it, it's another coach, and then now they have Ryan.
Yeah.
And it seems like throughout the year that they are going to rely on Ryan for the rest of the year, which I think is the best move they can make. Good or bad, good or bad for that organization.
Commit.
You need to commit, and you need to have stability, because I think that if they just create some fundamental issues and create a good foundation that they could build off of, and maybe that's what they need. They just need that good foundation, and that they can then build off of that, and they can earn a little bit more trust. Because after going 0-4 and being on that team last year, I think that they're probably dealing with a lot of trust issues right now within their organization, right? When you have the talent and you have the roster that they have on paper, and you're like, man, they could win an event, and they go 0-4.
They can win an event. Absolutely.
And they lose to Blast Camp, who everyone mocked and laughed at them because they bought their spot and they didn't earn it. And kudos to them for coming in and playing as well as they did. But everyone on social media mocked and laughed at him, and they called them there was a name that everyone was calling Bot Camp.
Oh, yeah.
They weren't calling him Blast Camp. They were calling him Bot Camp, meaning that they bought their spot. And, losing to them and going 0-4, I am sure it does not help them in terms of like a trust thing. Because then you're like, how can you trust those players to go out there, like from player to player? How can you trust that to go out there and go, man, how can I trust you to not repeat the same 20th place? Right. I think they are really going to struggle. And I hope that they don't. I hope that they can bounce back, because I actually like a lot of players on that team. I like them. I like everybody on that team.
I root for them for many reasons.
Yeah.
Like for paintball players that want to get paid, like we need them to do well, and
we don't want to see them do bad, bro, because then it hurts the rest of us. It really does. Because you just don't want to see them have the success that they're having. Right. Well, lack of success. Lack of success that they're having when they have salary. They have salary.
Well, and they have the pieces. And again, I don't know. Like Mouse alone should be able to beat Blast Camp. No offense to Blast Camp. They played great. And so did PB Fit. I want to talk real quick about how well those two teams came into the league and played. PB Fit put everybody on notice. They said, I personally thought that their game wouldn't quite translate that well. They were like one crazy mistake away. They were up a point with 30 seconds to go against Uprising. Got a stupid penalty. They got a dumb penalty that wiped their team out, went into overtime, got another penalty off the break.
And that would have put them into Sunday, wouldn't it have?
They would have made Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would have been close. I think it would have been close. It would have come down to point margin, but I think it would have been close.
Damn, first event and you show up and you do that. So like they played great. Blast Camp in the bracket of death didn't go 0-4.
Yeah.
You guys were a 1-point game.
Yeah, and put up great games against everybody else, scoring points, like looking actually like a team that deserves to be here, and not bot camp.
Not bot camp. Totally.
Not bot camp.
Not bot camp. They deserve to be there.
Deserve to be respected and have them be named Blast Camp now.
There's been pro teams in the last couple of years that I'm like, you definitely don't deserve it.
Right.
But Diesel, if you're Diesel and you're Alex Goldman, I agree. One of the best players of all time, undoubtedly. Mouse, any given day is literally the best player on the field.
Yeah.
Any given day when he's like super dialed,
Yeah.
Him alone. And I gave him shit. I'm like, I don't care who your 4 teammates are, bro. You alone should be able to beat Blast Camp in that prelim game. Like you should.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like such a dysfunction of belief and mojo.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. It's not talent. They have all the talent. The team before they made all the pickups was really good. AC Diesel was solid before. They made improvements. I think they need to take a little pressure off themselves, start having a little more fun, maybe stop the 7 a.m. practices until 5 p.m. These guys are veterans. I don't know if that practice is totally necessary.
Wait, they did that?
I don't know if that's exact hours, but it's
Oh,
pretty
okay,
close.
okay.
It's pretty close. It's pretty close. I know that.
Yeah.
You know, like you got to enjoy and give people confidence. And, you know, look, I always say this, and I do this with my teams too, with my young teams, that they're not pro yet. They haven't earned shit. I work them to the bone, right? I work them to the bone. But then there's been events where, like, all of a sudden I see, like, we're getting diminishing returns.
Yeah.
And we're starting to play bad. And so my next practice with them is fun. It's goofy. We start late. All the things.
Yeah.
All the crazy things. And they're like, what's wrong with you, Marcelo? And then we win the next tournament.
You were just beating us up last week. Now we're having fun out here.
And then we win the next tournament.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, there's a balance. Look, like, we got to work hard. I expect you all to work hard.
Yeah.
But that can't be the only thing. And you get to a point to where, like, you're working hard. It's not working. So you keep working hard and it's not working. Like, why is it working? Work harder. No, dude, relax for a second. Collect yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Keep working hard. Collect yourself. Have some fun with it. And then, okay, let's get some results.
And you can see those teams like that are having fun, like Blast Camp. Like, if you were in their pits, which I'm sure you were, because we played at the same time.
Yeah.
When they're playing, they're still like they went 1-3, right? And any team that goes 1-3, you're probably not very happy. But every match, like, they had the heart, they had the drive, like they were trying their best for each other, for their team, for their coach. Like, it was just awesome to see them do that. And Paintball Fit's the same way. Like, they've been together for a long time. So, like, they know how to play together. They know what they need to make a winning formula. And so it's just awesome to see these new teams come into the league and do what they did, because you see that hunger, you see that drive, you see that heart that a lot of, you know, these veteran players, like, they start to lack now because of contentness. And it's cool to see that this new heart and this new drive and this new hunger come in, because, again, for me, dude, we need these young kids. We need these new teams to come in, because if without them, then we're all just going to be like at that
winners forever.
Yeah, exactly. We need people with that hunger and drive. And, like, for me, like, I'm the most hungry, I'm the most driven right now that I've probably been in the last 5 years. And I credit that to, one, the atmosphere that I'm in and the organization that I'm in, but also all of these new young players that are just so hungry to win. Like, they want to be better than me, right? They want to surpass me. They want to do everything they can to dethrone me. And I'm not at the highest level. You guys are right now. The dynasty is. So
Rab, you are at the highest level. Listen, maybe whatever with the wins the last year or two, but you're in that category, brother.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, I appreciate that. But for me, like, I hold myself to, like, incredibly difficult standards. So, like, you know, like, to me, you guys are at the top, and I have to push to that next level. And there's people, like, right underneath me, like, trying to push past me, right? So, like, I have to continue to push harder and harder and harder if I want to surpass you, if I want to surpass Tyler, if I want to be at the top and be in that argument of, you know, best player in the world, while these players are doing the same thing. So without those people,
speaking of best player, how the fuck is Ryan still doing shit like that?
Bro, I thought he was senile like 2 years ago, and now he's still running
I
down
thought
the
it was
snake.
cooked, and then he just shows up. He just shows up and I had to text him today because I rewatched our match yesterday when I got home. His finals performance, holy shit, dude!
Bro,
like,
just
he
his
went
whole
nuclear.
Sunday performance.
Yeah,
he was Sunday
performance.
He played
incredible.
Dude,
incredible.
It was like, otherworldly. It was otherworldly.
Like, oh,
the
man,
guy's like 58.
Well, he still got it. He's like 58.
Yeah.
Gray as shit. So gray. Wrinkles all over the place. I think he has trouble seeing. He's definitely slurring his words.
He only eats applesauce.
He only eats out of a straw.
Yeah.
He
And
played
he's
so
out there
good though,
doing
dude.
it,
I was like,
doing it better than
man,
anybody else.
yeah, the way he
It's
played in the
incredible to
finals, though,
watch, man. It's
it is.
incredible to
It
watch
is.
because it a lot of people are like, oh, how many years do you have left? And then I look at Ryan, I'm like, fuck, I got
Too
I got a
many.
lot of
Too
years
many.
left. I got a
Too
lot of years
many.
left.
I know.
Yeah, if I
It's
keep
like I don't
working
even want
hard.
that many years left.
Yeah, like
Like
it's
he's
incredible to watch.
9 years older than me. I'm like, oh shit. So I have to do this until I'm 42. I'm 33. I don't know,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
Yep.
yeah, no, he played phenomenal. It was pretty incredible. But no, like guys, the top is obviously this group all been there at some points. It kind of rotates,
Mhm.
And Justin, what are your goals for the rest of the season?
I think that my number one goal right now, like my main goal, is to make sure that I continue to stay healthy. I need, even though I'm not feeling any pain right now. I didn't have any pain in the tournament. That could come back at any moment because why did it just disappeared it randomly, right? So I need to make sure that I'm continuing to work hard, continuing to rehab. That's my main goal: to stay healthy, to continue to eat good, to continue to train in a healthy manner, um, and to take care of my body. Because as we get older, it becomes increasingly more difficult. A lot of young people. I was in denial about this when I was young. I was like, man, I can eat whatever the hell I want. I'm always going to be healthy, and it doesn't work like that. And as you get older, you need to maintain your body and take care of your body. And like the whole your body is a temple thing, like that's really true when you get older. Like when you get to my age, like right when you hit 35, you better start taking care of your
Are you
body.
35, bro?
35.
Damn, 2 years older
35.
than me. I was wrong.
Yeah.
So Dalton's 35. You're 35. Tyler, you're 34.
I'm gonna be 35 in 1 month. Yeah, I'm right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm 33. Damn, I guess I'm the youngest out of all of us. All of our like our crew, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of our generation.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I thought you were, because you were only 1 grade higher than me in middle school, which is funny for all the listeners. If you haven't listened to like our previous shows, J-Rab and I went to the same middle school.
What's your birthday?
June 18th, 1990.
Yeah, so I was like the oldest of my year, and I think you were at the like right before. So were you like the youngest in your year?
I was the youngest in my year.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was at that cutoff that
Right.
like I was always the oldest. I was the first one like to get my car, first one to get a driver's like all of those things. First one to turn 18, like all of those things. Like in high school and middle school, I was always the oldest. And then yeah, you must have been on like the cutoff where like you were on the youngest side.
And I was always the youngest. Yeah. No, I think to this day, I think it's so funny. We went to the same middle school. It had some of the same best. It's like hilarious.
Man, that's a small world.
It was like,
yeah, go ahead.
It was like a rivalry from the beginning, though, because I remember Andres was like, no, I know somebody else who plays paintball with the pros.
Yeah.
And he was like, Justin Rabackoff. I'm like, I don't know who the fuck that is. He doesn't play with the pros. I play with the pros, And like, I feel like that set us off on this, like, because we never actually met in middle school, which is crazy. We went to the same middle school and we had like the same like middle friend,
Yeah. That is so weird. I don't know how we didn't ever meet or even cross paths.
Totally. Like, it makes no sense.
So
we should have been best friends.
I know.
We should have like grown up playing together. We should have grown up on the same team.
Going to the field on Saturday and Sunday together, but it was the complete opposite.
We were too competitive.
Yeah. But back on the goals thing, I think I don't have like most people like their first goal would be like, oh, I want to win an event this year, or I want to win the series, or I want to win a World Cup. But like to me, my goal is to obviously to stay healthy, so that's like my main objective right now. But my second objective is to really buy into like what this new system is. And I really like, for me, I found it incredibly hard and humbling at the same time, because I've created this like persona, right, of the last 10 years of how I think that the field should be played. And now I'm trying to buy into a system which is to
A little
me the
different.
exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
Right? Like where Sunday it's like, oh, I'm the guy that's supposed to be that stability on the field, to always be alive, to always be there when the team is needed, to now like go out there, be as aggressive as possible, and go and shoot 3-4 guys, and then die, whatever. Obviously not die every time, but like that's part of being a front player.
Right.
So my second goal would be to really try to break my mold, and break that of how I thought the field should be played, and to really buy into this system. And then in turn, if I win an event because of that, I'll be extremely happy. But that would be
Awesome.
my other main objective, is to really, really buy into this system, try to break that mold and that mentality that I have in my head, where I feel like I need to always be alive, and find that balance between stability and aggressiveness. I need to find, I would like to really find that balance. So that's what I'll really be working hard on this year.
Get back to your roots. I mean,
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
No, I love that, dude, because actually that was and it didn't quite go that way the first event, but that's kind of my goals this year too, is actually pushing the limits of being aggressive from the 3 spot.
Mhm.
And finding ways to attack and change the game in a different way. Like I feel like my game not too different than yours. You've always had a little bit more attack in your game than I have, but
Yeah.
communication, being alive, being there for kind of the showdown, the end of the game
Yep.
has always been like my thing. And I definitely have wanted to put emphasis this year on finding ways to just open things up, like in the middle of a match, you know, a little bit more. So, it's fun, dude. Like you've already been the best in the world at what you did. So like now trying to evolve and change something and change your game in a way, like that's the whole fun process
Yeah.
of being
Yeah.
a pro athlete. And especially like if you're one of the few ones that could ever reach the top of whatever you do, you are in such a lucky position if you get to a point where you say, I want to try to make this better.
Yeah.
So you're in a great spot, dude. And it's cool. I'm excited to see how you do that. I'll be studying. I'll be also trying to implement some of that in my own way. And I know Tyler is fucking doing the same over here.
Yeah, he did it. He did it the first event. He was the one on
It
the
is the
snake
one on the
most of
snake
the time
side.
too. It was
Yeah.
awesome
Dude,
seeing him in there.
I dove like one time and my elbows tore up from that, dude. Like, how do you guys do it every point?
Your body's not built for it. Yeah. I came away with no scratches or bruises. None.
Oh man, dude. Jeez. I
Big
dove one
Daddy.
time out to the corner.
Dude.
I think
That
I
was
sprained
enough
I
for
think
you.
I think I sprained my ankle going to the back center.
You're getting it done, boy. Yeah, it's I mean, yeah, I'm 6'2", sending it into the snake, and it's fun. It really is fun to play the one. I know, Justin, you had a lot of fun playing the one.
Yeah.
And March, you play the one too. We've seen you win tournaments as a one. It's a really thrilling and thankless job too. Same with being a
It's
back
the best
player.
job. It is
Yeah.
the most fun part in paintball, right? But like you can't do it if you don't have 2s or 3s that understand the game. So like that's the
Yes.
thing
Yeah.
is like it's
And the ones get all the glory too.
they get all the
They
glory,
get all
dude.
the
They
social
get all the
media. They
glory.
get all the pictures.
They
And then
get all
you're
the
in the
glory.
back like, he couldn't have done that without me.
Yeah, I
Right?
told
Like,
him to do that. I told him to do that.
Yeah.
I shot the
Yeah,
it's
I
crazy.
gave him all the info. He's laying there. You think he can see what's in front of him? No, I gave him that info.
That's right.
How do we start keeping stats on that? See, that's like when we have a full, like when we finally have like real stats in a full broad, spectrum kind of thing. Those need to be counted. Assists,
Yeah.
all that stuff. It needs to
Yeah.
be information. It's important.
Absolutely. All right, let's dive into PTG world. We got the
Yes,
Discord
we got
chat
the
for
questions.
you, J-Rab. So I'm
Okay.
going to dive into some questions. The first one's kind of what we're talking about. Mark Paris. Justin, how did it feel playing that super aggressive style with Legion again? Incredibly impressive event.
I mean, obviously it felt great. I'm probably the most excited and the most happy about paintball that I've been in a long time. And I think that a lot of that is from one, training a lot, and two, being a little bit more aggressive, shooting. I was able to shoot people on the break and then go bunker people in the same point.
Yeah.
So like to me, like that is like such an awesome feeling because it doesn't happen too much out of the back. So when you can shoot people on the break and then also go bunker 2 guys at the end of the point and be aggressive from out of that back center, it felt incredible. It was like, really liberating to be able to do that from that spot and then be that aggressive one down the side and then go and bunker people like I used to. So it was awesome.
100%. Man, we had E Jelly who had a ton of people ask. So his question was, you don't have to answer, so we already talked about it. Justin, what do you think the issue is with Diesel after you leaving the team?
Oh, okay.
We're not going to answer that because we dove in. Sometimes the PTG community is so dialed in with what we're going to have on the show. But the next question is from young Stevie. J-Rab, talk us through some of the challenges of playing on a team that speaks primarily another language. What were some of the early conversations like to accommodate you as the QB on the roster and not speaking Russian?
So this is something that we didn't dive into at all in this episode, but it was one of the biggest struggles that we had on the team for myself, and I know for a lot of the players on the field, especially for Malloy.
Pause real quick. Okay. I remember at one point you yelling, Kirill, the whole right side's clear. And I'm just like, we have codes for that. Like, how do you not have a code for that? You're like, the right side's clear.
Yeah. They have a code for it, but I was dying. It's in Russian, and and
you forgot it.
It's not that I forgot it. It's that Russian is so incredibly hard to pronounce. Yeah. Like, especially when you have to string it in a sentence. Like when you have to say it in a sentence, it's so difficult. And I told the team after the event that I would do my best to try to learn as much Russian as I could. I just bought a whole like Duolingo Russian package the Sunday after the event, and that cost me $100. So like I'm really invested in trying to make it work, because whereas before we had a mixed squad, but we had an American line. And so the American line would then mix in with the Russian line every now and again, but I never, and I learned Russian because I practically lived over there, but it's a different kind of mindset this time because I am the odd one out this time. So it was extremely difficult on the field because I could hear them all talking to each other in Russian, and then I'm trying to talk and put information in. And there were some points where I was like yelling at Sergey or yelling at Karslev or Malloy, and they just weren't responding to me at all. So I was like, all right, fuck it. It's not even worth it. They're not going to list. Yeah. It's, if he goes, then I'm going right with him, and I'm not even going to worry about it. So like, to me, like it's tough because now I have to break that mold, right? Whereas like I'm typically the guy who QBs the situation, provides information to everybody in the field. I take pride in knowing exactly where everybody is on the other side of the field and then feeding all of that information to everybody on my side, right? So I take extreme pride in that, and it was a very difficult transition for me for this first event that I couldn't do that, where a lot of it I could hear them talking. Malloy wasn't really kind of understanding me, and I knew he wasn't understanding me because we actually had a conversation about it. It's like I would ask him over and over again, like, "Hey, did you hear me? Like, did you understand me?" And he goes, "Yeah." But I know for a fact that he didn't. And then finally we sat down, like, it had like a heart to heart, and I was like, "Bro, are you actually like understanding me, like, and hearing me?" And he's like, like sometimes you're talking too fast. Like, and I'm yelling it too fast, but for me, I feel like it's normal, right? Course. Whereas all of us, you would be able to understand me, I'd be able to understand you, but in the moment, like his brain wants to hear it in Russian first, and so when it's in English, now he has to think about it.
Yes,
and then now it's taking out of his game. Yeah, so it was extremely difficult to be able to communicate with the team. We made it work. We got third, and I'm extremely happy with the results that we got after the first event when we struggled so much with communication.
I put my money on you guys winning an event this year.
Well, I don't Don't jinx it. Like your caster's
I mean, dude,
right now.
you're wrong. I mean, I just truly do. I thought that was, again, I've messaged you this, but I think it was one of the offseason moves that like didn't get talked about enough. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, the Russians all year were so dangerous. They lacked depth. They lacked the glue. They pick up J-Rab.
Yeah.
And you guys aren't talking about this team being like a insane threat. Like, to me,
I thought
like
it was,
all offseason,
I thought it was crazy too. Like people were talking about players I've never even heard of.
They were so soured.
This is the move of the year, and I'm like, I don't even know who this guy is.
Hey, well, stop. I had move of the year, bro. It was pretty dope.
What?
I said, whoa, stop. I had move of the year. It was pretty dope.
What are you talking?
Oh, you mean
about?
Off-season move? I thought.
Yeah, off-season move.
Easy, bro.
Move of the year.
Yeah. Who much?
Who did they? Hong Kong. Who did they say was off-season move of the year?
He said it's someone he had never even heard of.
I'd never even heard of. I never even heard of him.
Like, I get it. There's a lot of talk of the X Factor thing with Axel. Huge pickup.
Yeah,
like,
sure.
especially huge. Diesel picking up Cody, honestly, didn't move the needle for me. You going to the Russians was like, I was like, bro, this is huge. I don't know how anybody does it. This is huge. This is so dangerous for the league. This is like,
and it was
huge.
like the least talked about.
It was the least talked about move. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Why do you think that was? I think it's because people soured on Diesel. They're upset with like Latin Saints. They're upset with Diesel.
There was such a buzz around Aftershock. Aftershock had so much traction at this.
Yeah, they took the mainstream media like by storm. Everybody was talking about them and how they were like the next best thing since sliced bread, and like they were the thing. They were the team to beat. And I'm like, how can you be the team to beat when you haven't even played a match yet?
Yeah,
like you can't be the team to beat when you haven't even played a match yet. Like
they did win the last Vegas though, so it was like they were the reigning champs of the Vegas event.
Oh, yeah.
What? I mean, come on, bro. Like,
I'm just saying.
Come on.
Hey, and
like,
I want to go back.
I
want to hold on. I want to go back to my move of the event thing. Yes, I am standing on business with that because look, I play the damn back spot. So if I have a move of something, I'm gonna hold on to it. I'm gonna fucking hold on to it. I don't make many moves, so I'm gonna hold on to it.
That's true. That's true.
And damn, was it a move? Holy shit! And yeah, without a doubt, that move will go down as a timestamp of greatest moves of all time. Without a doubt,
it was fun. We got a little lucky.
Wait, what was the move in the finals, or was it in another game?
It was quarters, I think.
So you're talking about Orlando against NYX, right? I think that was the dopest move. I think.
Oh, we're talking about Cup. We're talking about Cup?
No. So Orlando, the first event.
Yeah.
Oh, last year.
Mm-hmm. Yes, 2023.
Yeah. Okay, so we're talking about an event.
I'm talking about a year ago,
6 events ago.
I'm talking about 6 events ago, bro.
Let him live. Let him live.
Yeah. Let him live.
Yeah, let me live, dude. Come on.
I
bunkered like 3 people in 1 point. That's never happened ever for me.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like never happened. 3 in 1 point, crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Now I'm embarrassed. All right. We can move on.
Your Discord's got some good questions.
Dude, these guys and gals, we are also inclusive.
Best.
They have the best questions. They really do.
Yeah,
like
that last one was great.
So activated. Yeah.
Oh, you want to
fire it up? It's like
he
was in our pits, like, like it knew the foundation of
I remember watching on the sidelines, hearing you say the right side's clear. I'm like, that is literally like you're out with your friends at the paintball field.
I know.
You're not with your team. You're literally playing walk-ons.
You're preaching to the choir.
Flank them down the right side.
Yeah, flank them.
Right side's clear. I was like, oh my God. Okay, they're going very basic here.
Yeah.
And young
Yeah.
Stevie, we got to show major love to young Stevie. And congratulations, young Stevie. You're a huge part of the success, obviously, here at PTG and the award that we won out there in Vegas. So much love to you. He is the Discord moderator, and
Okay.
he and our creative director for the entire brand and everything. And he's very in tune. Like, he loves paintball so much. So he knows
So he's
exactly.
the man.
Yeah,
He's the man, dude. He's dope.
Yeah.
He's the guy.
And then, okay, you want to fire it up a little. We got some J. Kells 4 in the Discord. And did you treat the AC match as a prove them wrong game for letting you go, or what they said, or a prove my team right game and let your boys know getting me was the right move?
I mean, obviously, any time that you either are cut from a team or you leave a team, and in this case, I was cut. Whenever you have that, you always want to beat the other team. They wanted to beat me. They wanted to prove that they could do it without me. And on the other hand, like, I'm there to prove, like, you guys are nothing without me, right? Like, that's the mentality that you need. That's right. That exactly. So of course I wanted to beat them. Like, was it like a huge thing for me? It probably wasn't as big as, like, beating Impact, like when I first left them. Probably not as big as that, because, well, one, we didn't really have the success.
Oh, you beat them with the Saints.
Yeah, we beat them with.
I remember on Sunday too, Sunday morning,
and also beat them with ACD. So, like, they never beat us. We played them 2 times last year, and we always beat them.
Wait, the 2 games you won last year was against Impact?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The 2 games that we won. Fuck you. Yeah, the 2 games that we won.
There we go. That's the one.
Oh, Marcelo's got jokes now at the end. Yeah, but I think like, when I first left Impact, like, I wanted to beat them more because it was more like something to prove, because I set off on a different journey. Like, I wanted to build a team from the bottom up and make them a championship level team. Right. So, like, for me, it was more of like I can do this. I know I can do this. So beating them was like a more of proof to myself in that mentality and that belief that it created that belief that, hey, I can go to another team who has done nothing with less players than, Impact, and we can be a contender. We can always be here on Sunday. So, like, for me, like, beating them, like, with ACDs, like, the only person that I wanted to beat on that team is Mouse. And here's why.
Because you won't hear the end of it if it's the other way.
If he would have beat me, I would have never heard the end of it. And you know what's so funny is I beat him and I didn't even say a word. I didn't say a word until he said something to me, because he said he needs something. You go last place, you go 0-4. He's got to have a win somewhere. He's got to have a win. So if his win is talking shit to me, let him do it. Like, let him do it. Let him have that win. And I was like, because I told him, I was like, yeah, you're good for 1. You got the 1 on me, but we ended up still winning. So, like, is that 1 really worth it? It's the 1 worth it. But if he would have beat us, he would be texting me every day. He'd be texting me every day.
Me too. That's why I'm like, every time you play Mouse. But you can appreciate that in a friend and a competitor, because he keeps you super fucking motivated.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, when we play Mouse, like, better win, and I better play good, because I know I'm not going to hear the end of it. Like,
right.
The standards he holds for himself, he holds for everyone close to him, he holds for everyone around him.
Of course.
And he lets you know.
Yeah.
And he lets you know. But I'm like,
those poor guys. Hopefully they can dig themselves out of that.
They will. They have to. And actually, again, I keep telling Mouse, it's the greatest, like, challenge for him, and he is capable of it. Mm-hmm. Like, the way he plays and the way he knows the game, he absolutely can have that team be a Sunday contender for the rest of the season. He absolutely can. He just has to find it within himself to give some belief to these guys.
Yep.
He has the ability. He does. And this is a huge challenge for him. And if he pulls this off, it's going to be an added bonus to his legacy, because he's already proved that he could be the best in the world if he's with a team, with the organization, where he doesn't have to worry about all the extra stuff.
Right, of course.
I'm not saying like be with a stacked team, but where he doesn't have to worry about all the extra stuff. But if he can now add to his resume that he's like helping a team along the way, it just adds to his legacy. And he's capable. He's capable, you know? And I'm like, bro,
value. It adds to
yeah,
his
it adds to his
value
value 100%. I'm like, bro, you can absolutely do this, you know? And that's why earlier when we were talking, like, is it maybe that there's like too much pressure put on these moments, you know, and like just stop with like maybe uproot the whole thing. Fucking maybe skip a whole practice and go out to a ball game or something, you know, like just see what it does. Just uproot the whole thing. And because 0-4 and losing a blast camp, that ain't it. But we definitely talked about that enough. Let's go into the next Discord question.
Yeah, we got the CB2K from the Macro Line gang. That's in our chat. We have a whole gang of people that just shoot macro line guns. So he's one of them. Shout out to CB2K.
Really? You guys have a whole section dedicated to macro line guns?
They love it.
That's incredible.
They love
That's incredible.
Bro, you want in here, dude? We can get you in, dog.
Yeah, come on down.
I don't have a macro line.
No, but you could be just in the deal.
Okay.
In the Discord.
I can pop in there, talk some
fun,
shit every
man.
now and again.
It's fun to just be seeing everybody just has so much fun in here. All right, so J-Rab, is Legion your last stop before retiring, moving on to say a coaching role or something like that?
Ooh, bro, I don't know. I honestly I don't know. I don't even know, you know, because I have had people ask me like, oh, do you want to take on a coaching role and do this after you're done playing? And I'll be honest, I haven't even put much thought into it because I'm still focused on being a player. Like I don't feel like I'm even close to being done yet. I still feel like I still have a lot left to put into this game. So I haven't even begun thinking about like a coaching role and like what that would look like, because why would I think about that yet when I don't want to stop playing? You know what I mean? And coaching divisionals is obviously not the same step as coaching a professional team. There's a lot more to it in coaching a professional team. Do I think that I could do it? Yeah, I think I have the mind for it. I think I have the leadership for it. So I think I do believe that I can do it. And I'm more of like a stats oriented guy. So I feel like I would bring a more statistical analysis to the game. But yeah, I think I could do it, but I'm not ready to think about that yet. I hope that answers the question. I hope that was a good enough answer.
I think that's what we're all hoping to hear, because nobody wants you retiring anytime soon. You bring a lot of flavor to the game. You know what I'm saying? So, that's perfect.
That. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. GSE Adam X. We have talked about this a little bit, but it's still a great question, so I'm going to ask it.
Is that his whole name? GSE Adam X?
Yeah.
Well, it's actually XGSE Adam X.
Okay,
it's kind of like old school.
You shortened it.
I shortened it for you guys. Justin, talk about the mental roller coaster the last 18 months have been, from leaving Impact to joining AC, then struggling to find success, to playing hurt, and ultimately parting ways. It must have taken a toll. What was that like, and how do you feel now joining Russians and having such a successful first showing?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about this briefly. I would say that I'm way more happy now, like mentally, you know, now than I have been in this question, the last 18 months. Because when I played with Impact, we still won 2 events. That was 2 years ago. We still won 2 events coming off that year. Obviously with Diesel, we didn't have the results that we wanted, but it was a building phase. I didn't get a chance to continue to build with that team, which is their choice, and I respect that choice. But it was extremely frustrating, and it was very tough. There was no stability, there was no foundation, and we had the results because of that. So it's like, all you can do is you can learn from it. I have no bad blood. I have no ill will towards that team. I don't want to see them lose. I don't want to see them do worse. I don't care if they beat me or not. I want that team to thrive, because it's good for paintball. Anytime, everyone needs to understand, anytime that someone on another team, or when people shift out cash to players for their value, it's very important to see those teams be successful. You don't want to, in terms of paintball, if you're a fan of paintball, I see this happen a lot on social media. When teams pay salaries to players, people get upset about it. But as a fan of paintball, you should want people to get salaries. You should want them
Totally.
to earn money to play paintball. I've never understood this mentality of we're evil, or we're the enemy for wanting a paycheck to do what we love, right? I never understood that mentality. And as a fan, you should want that player, or if you're a fan of that player or you're a fan of that team, to be successful, because it's better in the long run for everybody, including management of that team, the person who spends the cash, the player who's earning the cash, and future prospects in the sport, whether they're Divisional 2, semi-pro, it doesn't matter. We want these people to continue to get paid. We want the majority of players to get a salary, whether it's guns, product, it doesn't matter. Like, we want these teams to be able to give out some sponsorship or give out salary. It's important for everybody, for the longevity of the sport, and no one should have ill will or hatred towards teams that try to pay players. You're not just trying to buy players. You're buying the value of the player for the team. Right? It's not just, oh, I'm going to buy players and I'm going to expect to win. Like, it doesn't work like that. But people think that, and then they think it's evil, right? And you see so much backlash about it on social media, no matter what. For the history,
Yeah, but you see it in every sport, right? And it's just magnified in our sport, but it's not justified. Like, this is what happens in sports is, look, if players can get paid, they will get paid. And in paintball, there's no minimum salary.
Yeah.
Period. So, like, if a player can go and get paid, I'm like, if it's one of my teammates, one of my best friends, I'm like, you know what? Look, I know what you've sacrificed to get here and earn the ability to have someone else offer you this. Okay. Yeah. Like, we sacrifice other careers so that we can do this.
Right.
And that's not to say that there's not these amazing, irreplaceable experiences we've had along the way. Of course there are, and paintball's given us things that nothing else could. But from a financial standpoint, all of us have sacrificed other careers for sure. At least, like, at the very top, especially the ones that have been all in, we've sacrificed other very lucrative careers so that we can pursue this dream. And yes, again, we've been given a return, but if there's an opportunity to get more of a return and actually have a substantial income from it, please do that, because it raises the bar for everybody. And absolutely. I agree, Justin, like, my goodness, people that hate on it, I'm like, dude, you're missing the box, man. You're missing the box. The value, people are like, oh, there's no return on that. Teams don't win money from, listen, the value of something will always be what somebody's willing to pay. So if people are willing to pay a certain amount to get a player that they think is going to help them win, and them winning is valuable to them in a certain way, then amazing. And the more of those we have, awesome. Yeah. Awesome. And the more of those we have, the more, here's what's funny. If we end up having, 10 players that are paid $200,000 a year at some point that create no return for their team, all of a sudden you have more players that are like, whoa, there's people that make $200,000 a year playing paintball. Now maybe those players end up increasing over time because it's like, whoa, this is actually a thing. Now maybe those organizations can find a way to get a return on their money because there's more people that are interested, that care, that want to buy shirts, want to buy this, want to buy that. Like, that's how it all ends up happening. When you have people excited about chasing a career, chasing that's how it ends up happening. It's like poker back in the day, first $1 million game. People are like, whoa, people are winning $1 million playing poker. I'm interested.
Yeah. And people hate on things that they don't understand. Like, you have to understand that the amount of time, the amount of work and the
No,
amount of dedication that we
we're
put
replacing
into our
careers.
craft. Exactly. It's
Period.
like we love and we obsess over this sport, but we also have bills to pay. We all have
Right.
bills to pay, and the majority of us have have families or whatever that looks like, and those people need to be taken care of. So it's like,
Yeah.
we're just trying to do our best to also survive, right? So
Totally.
we just want to be compensated for our time, just like everybody else in the history of ever. In the history of ever.
Ever. Well said. I
Yeah.
agree though, dude. Yeah, that's exactly right. And it's like, again, that's why I root for Mouse. I root for Diesel. I root for the players that are getting paid like that, because I want you guys to win, because then it's like, okay, we can, a team owner can come in and say, if I want to win, I gotta pay, right?
Yeah.
And that's fitting. But players that are getting paid to play this game are pushing the envelope forward for the future.
Yes.
And it's important. It's important that we have that. It really is. And until we have some sort of, minimum salary from the league or whatever, from any sort of deal, then there should never be a salary cap. There shouldn't be limitations on teams and how they can pay players. Like, and that's always talk. We want players to get paid, period.
Look at it from this. I'll keep this short and sweet, and then we can go to the next question. Without Oliver getting that contract from the Iron Men, literally none of us would be getting anything.
None of us would maybe even still be doing this. Like, that contract was like, to me at a young age, I was like, oh, that's what I want. I want to chase this. I want to chase this.
100%.
Yes.
100%. And it was and it's not the money that made me want to chase it. It's just like,
it was all of it.
I can see a life in it. That's what you can see. Like, you can see yourself in that life, because you're like, okay, if this is a possibility, then I know that in the future that I can live and I can do this. So I'm going to put everything that I have into this game, because I know that there is something at the end of the tunnel waiting there for me as well. And I was able to achieve that. We all have been able, us three especially, have been able to achieve that because of one person in our industry.
Yeah.
Changing the face and the ideas of what it means to be a professional athlete in our sport. And
Totally.
without that, like, these are healthy things. But now, like, at the time when Oliver got that contract, people were like excited. They were pumped. They were proud. Like, everyone was behind it. Everybody. There was no hate around this. There was no hate around this. Everybody was excited. But nowadays, you're a criminal if you go to a team for money. And that's true. Like, you are hated
this
on.
Crazy loyalty, for sure.
Yeah, and obviously you have your fans who absolutely stay loyal to you, no matter what team you go to, no matter what it is. You always have those fans, and those people know who they are for me, and I know who they are. But you will always have those people who look at you as like some sort of criminal for going to another team.
Yeah,
and taking a paycheck.
And it's, I mean, when we're talking about sports, it's just out of the realm of reality of what sports are. And like, people move teams. There's things that happen. There's, it's sports. I don't know if you watch other sports or not, but these kinds of things happen.
They happen.
Yeah. So it should be definitely celebrated, and let's try to keep the energies like moving in the right direction,
especially if you're a fan of the sport.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a fan. But if you're a fan, like, you should be encouraged by this.
Yeah, man. All right, this is one of my last questions. Might have another one. Patty Rice, for all three of us, if you could not play 5-on-5 before events and could only do one drill as many times as you wanted, but it's your only practice, what drill would you do?
I mean, it's gonna that one's easy for me, but it's gonna be shoot on the break. It's gonna be shoot on the break. I already feel like I'm one of the best in the league at it. So if we can't play 5-on-5, and do we know the layout before the event? Okay, it sounds like we don't, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so no layout. I would just work on shooting on the break for myself. Like, if you can be the best at that, it doesn't matter what field layout it is you're going to shoot people on the break, and your team is going to win points because of it.
Yeah.
To me, like, that's a no-brainer. Like,
Dude,
that one's a no-brainer.
I shot Malloy going to the Snakeside Temple, one of our Sunday points. I was like, that was it. That was the game winner.
Yeah. And honestly, that probably was because like nobody was shooting.
Nobody got shot going there.
No one was shooting that guy. So like for you to do it like 1 point in a match, like you're like, okay, like we've won. We've won.
That's the first thing we say when we're coaching teams too, is like what you can get exponentially better at in a short amount of time through hard work and give yourself an edge over your competition is shooting people on the break.
Yep.
Playing 5-on-4 is way easier than playing 5-on-5.
Yeah. You don't even have to practice it.
Yeah.
Like the majority of the time, 5-on-4, you're just going to pick up those games naturally.
Totally.
Naturally.
Yeah. And you are one of the most lethal on the break. So makes sense. It's interesting though. To me, that wouldn't be my answer. Mine is always target shooting. But I think that helps with off the break shooting. Like I love to do snap shooting.
In what? In like snap shooting?
Yeah, I love snap shooting from different angles. So or different distances. So but it's not just snap shooting, it's literally target shooting. So I go to a field often. When I drive that 45 minutes, a field's not set up. I have no bunkers. I have poles and targets. So I mimic a gunfight thing where I pull up and shoot. It's literally all target shooting and imaginary movements real movements, but imaginary situations in my mind.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So like that's what I use the most. And if I had one to do, I would say target shooting. And so you're right. That could be off the break shooting. That could be anything, but it's like you can get a target and put it downfield and you could mimic a gunfight, or you could pull up off the break and shoot at it too. You know? And
yeah, so but that's pretty broad. That's like a broad answer. Like if you just say target shooting.
Yeah, but it's not broad because it's so simple, because it's literally what you take one target, you put it downfield, and you can execute a multitude of things easily without changing anything.
Wasn't the question one drill?
That is a drill. So you go through the whole thing. Some gunfighting from there.
So
really, the most important thing is
I think you're cheating here a little bit.
I'm not though, because the most important thing is seeing the ball leave your barrel and hit the target. So whatever movement you do, I'll even do funny movements that aren't paintball related. And to me, it's like I'm just getting really comfortable with the ball leaving my barrel and hitting the target.
Yeah.
And it's like, so, you know, yes, it is broad. I get what you're saying, but I actually think it's a legitimate response to like target shooting. If there's like one thing you could do, get a target, put it downfield, and just keep trying to shoot it from different ways, different positions.
Yeah.
You know, because that's accuracy. That's fine tuning your ability to shoot something, shoot someone. That's me personally. Yeah.
But I think that like a drill like that is a little bit more high level. I think
maybe because you have to imagine. You have to be able to imagine the scenarios.
Yes, right, exactly, and that means that you'd have to know what those scenarios look like.
Sure.
Without knowing what those scenarios look like, you can't replicate that drill. No one's gonna be able to replicate that drill the same as like us three would be able to replicate that drill. It's just like a divisional player just can't do that. Not at the same level that we could.
Of course. No, I agree. Yeah. And it's, it is unique, and you're right. It's broad, but that to me, like I find pays dividends is, you know, just going through, and it's mostly about whatever movement I'm doing, just getting the ball to connect with the target.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. That's fair. I like that. Even though I feel like you cheated a little bit.
Maybe I did. Shit. Okay. My last question. And then I have a question for you, Ty, actually. But Papa Sosh wants to know, Justin, what level are you in Pokemon Go, and will you be my friend?
I don't have Pokemon Go.
Really?
I don't.
He has his trainer code and everything. You don't play Pokemon Go?
I don't.
Oh,
play
Papa
it.
Sosh,
I did when it first like came out, and then
okay.
And then like 2 years ago, I got back into it for like a week.
So you fucking play?
No, I don't. Currently, I am not playing. I don't play, so I don't even have the app downloaded.
That game took over for a minute there. That everybody in the world was playing, falling off. I mean, it's tragic, but terrible things also happened because of the game, because people were like so distracted by it, and you know, it like was a phenomenon.
Yeah, but it was like the one time in the world where we were actually all united because of one game. Like you could
That's
go
true.
into any city and like you walk around and you're like you knew when someone was playing Pokemon Go and you could instantly spark up that conversation and you could meet people from any culture, from anywhere in the world if you were in that city, and then you can relate to them and you can talk to them. And I thought that was like the best thing that came from that game. Like we were all in that during that time, united as in a worldly aspect.
That one got a lot of laugh emojis on it too. It's pretty funny. And Papa Sash is going to be stoked when you jump into PTG world. You already know he's going to be going crazy.
Ty,
yeah.
What the hell happened?
We lost Aftermath.
Why do you think? So Aftermath played great all weekend, but what do you think caused that quarterfinal loss?
I mean, I don't know. I think that they did a really good job of bringing the game. They played aggressive when they needed to, smart, shot paint well, and it just did not roll our way, unfortunately. It was 2-2 with a minute left, and they were able to shoot us and score with a few seconds left.
Were you guys
in that point? They were actually defensive. You were on their side of the field in every aspect. You guys had the middle. You guys had that. You were in their snake. You were in the 50 Dorito, and they were all like in a defensive mindset, on their back heels. And somehow, I thought you guys were going to win it. There was like 20 seconds, and somehow 2 guys were still alive at the end of the game, and then they were running down. It turned into complete chaos at the end there.
It did. And, I will always give credit where credit is due. And I'm super proud of that organization and how hard they work, because you can never take that away from them. Like, they literally have been playing together every weekend for months, and they've been putting in a lot of work, and they were able to play a really good game against us. And, kudos to them for taking down that W. It's obviously gutting. I hate it. Obviously, I never want to lose. It like drives me insane. But they were able to steal that win there.
So, but like that's the point, right? Exactly. It felt like it was stolen because you guys like had the win. You were in their shit.
Yeah.
What part of that point for the listeners at home? Because I think this is so valuable. There's so many times where you have these minute points and a team will just like everybody goes for it and they all get shot, and the team that shouldn't have won comes down and is able to win.
Yeah. In hindsight, we should have just played for overtime, obviously, and just like let it go to OT, or you got
to have a couple stable horses.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So was there like communication about that,
or was it a game plan mistake, or what?
Honestly,
or is it on the field?
It was just there was no. First of all, let me say this: Ryan Smith is an outstanding coach, and he did such a phenomenal job. Really proud of him and everything that he did. We didn't get it done on the field. I don't even know how else to put it. Yeah.
What was the game plan going into that point, though? Was it the mentality was to win? I know the Heat mentality.
Of course,
let's win the point.
Of course, and we were set up to win.
You were. I thought you were going to.
Yeah, and I honestly still don't even know. Like, I think the snake from across the field at some crazy angle shot. I think he shot Sam and then possibly shot me. I still am like unsure of exactly
how you died,
how I even got shot. Yeah.
Whoa.
Because I went to press, and it was like as soon as I left my bunker, something clipped my loader, or I don't know, it just sprayed off me, and they called me out, and I was like,
bro, I got shot against.
I have no clue.
Honestly, Rabbit might have been against you guys. I was in the Dorito corner, the small little Dorito. It was on the tape, and a ball literally like fell from the sky and landed on my tank. I'm like, there's no bunkers that it could be bounced off of. This was bounced off the sky. It was bounced off the net. And I
were
looked
you
at
called
the ref.
out, or did you get rid of it?
I was called out.
Oh.
I looked at because it was so weird. I was in the Dorito corner. There's no one shooting at me, and it came and it fell down from heaven, landed on my tank. And I looked at the ref. I'm like, I think that's from the other field. He's like, you're out. And I was like, Really? I was like,
Yeah.
no one shot me.
Chicken Little in the Dorito corner.
It was Chicken Little, dude. Fuck. Okay, I gotta go. It's time.
Yeah. All right. It was nice hanging out with you guys.
Always, dude.
It was
Always
amazing,
great to see
boys.
you.
Yeah,
Yes.
excellent episode. Rab, thank you. Huge fan of you and the Russians this year. Anytime you're not playing us, of course. But it's a cool story. You know, you go back to the team that you kind of came up with and got famous with, and the team is deadly, lethal. You know, excited to see more from you guys. Excited to see this brand of paintball you're trying to bring too. I think it's exciting.
Yeah, hopefully we can perfect it and we can change the game and where everyone is gonna rise to a new level. Because I always want to see like new levels of paintball. Like, I mean, that's what we strive for, right? So
Totally.
I appreciate you guys having me on. It was amazing. I love chatting with you guys and talking high level paintball, and I appreciate you allowing me to come on to the show.
Dude, we went the distance.
Yeah, this is the longest
hours.
one we've had like in a long time.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, dude,
That's what you guys said to me
wild,
the last time.
You're fun to talk to, man.
Yeah.
A lot of knowledge.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, thank you.
All right,
Yes,
boys.
sir.
Have a good night.
I mean, we got another event in just about a month, so we'll see everyone soon. Let's run
You
it.
already know.
Yep. Have a good night, everybody.
Peace.
Peace.
All right, everybody. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. If you enjoyed the show, please head over to ptgpaintball.com. Click the orange Patreon link in the corner and support the show. We greatly appreciate it. We have tiers as low as $1.99 a month. That is nothing, guys, and it'll give you access to the Discord where you get access to the players chat and get to mingle with the entire PTG community. We have tons of different pros in there. Tyler and myself are very active, and it's an amazing way to support the show. We also have amazing other tiers. If you want to be one of the best, want to be a GOAT, sign up for the GOAT tier. It's the greatest way to support us. And each month we do a private live stream show, one-on-one kind of thing, to where it's just the GOATs, and Tyler and myself will bring in some special guests every now and then, but you get to ask us questions in real time, live on the air, and you get lots of inside juicy news that we don't share on the show. So, as always, we will see you guys very soon.